Next level. Next level.
Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. How do I sound? How's everything working? Because I'm rushing to try and set everything up. Let's get the chat back, since I accidentally left it up. It's the chat. Come on back. Come on. There you go. Welcome to the show. It's a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream that was scheduled, planned, to be taking a look at 7 billion humans. Yeah, the new game from the Tomorrow Corporation, the new coding game from the Tomorrow Corporation. I had a look at it last night. It looks very fun. It's very wry and satirical and comedic in its, you know, dry programming stuff that it's going to be doing. We were going to have a look at that. And then, if you've read the title of the live stream, and then came you guys in the Discord chat. By which I'm talking about It's a Secret to Every Pony, Random Aim Ren Phoenix, Mage Lord Exelbirth, Nobots here as well. It's a Secret Mage Lord Exelbirth. Where are the rest of you? Hi guys, welcome to the stream. People in the Discord talking about a bit of a booming controversy on the Reddits, which is always something that I just dig right into because you know how much time I love to spend on Reddit. And how interested I am in the day-to-day petty internet controversies that pop up and get everybody excited and angry and frustrated, and then somebody goes out and does a school shooting or something and then it's over. You know how into that I am. But, I don't know. For whatever reason I clicked on... Will you shut the hell up? Hi. For whatever reason I clicked on a link and it brought me... Where did it bring me? It brought me... Friends, lovers, true. It brought me to, well, we'll come back to that. It brought me here on Reddit. After 5 years on Roll20, I just canceled and deleted my account. Now, for the uninitiated, Roll20 is, it's an internet-enabled app that, well, it makes role-playing easier, at least it bids to. That's how it's marketed. I guess, you know, maybe you wouldn't have the die if you didn't need them, and it would roll for you, but it helps Dungeon Masters set up their campaigns, and the fella who's about to go on for, well, a while now explaining his scenario, actually had like a tabletop setup, apparently, just from this description. By the way, this is on the Dungeons and Dragons Reddit, because the r/D&D, because he couldn't post to the Roll20 because he'd been banned. But yeah, apparently he was so into the services that Roll20 provided, he had like a tabletop television set up where he could lay out his grid and stuff that was being managed by, hey, yeah, by the way, this is all working again. Ow. What did you ice cream, Jim? Right, not to alarm anyone, but I've somehow ended up in this WhatsApp group of people who only say oof. Oof. Well, it's spreading now. It's just oof. There's nothing more to it. Oof. Great. Great. Well, oof to this then, because this fellow's been using it for 5 years. He'd set up like a very custom, you know, specific, like, I really like this service. It helps me do the role-playing so much better. You know, it's so much easier to DM. Have all this stuff. He's been a loyal customer for 5 years. And out of the blue, okay, he issued apparently some complaint on a thread on Reddit about Roll20, about certain things that he didn't like, I guess. I haven't gone down the entire rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is this friggin' long over here. I just scrolled it for you. But I have read pretty much everything that's written here. I just haven't followed the 9,000 links to all of the other things that have been said. Long story short, very long story short. In fact, we'll just let the long story sort of shorten itself over time behind me. Long story short, he posted some critical things on the Roll20 Reddit. I don't know, how deep or how nasty or what the nature of them were, but he's been using it for 5 years. He's built a whole setup around it, so I would guess that he's a fan with complaints, with issues, but a fan. He posted some critical statements, and apparently one of the forum moderators, one of the Reddit moderators here on not D&D, but on r/Roll20, recognized the name, or thought they did, because his name is very similar to a user, Apostle of Truth. You'll see that coming up right about there. Apostle of Truth, and he's Apostle O or something like that. And that person had been banned like 2 years prior or something like that for starting shit on Reddit. So they thought, oh, it's an alt account for that jackass, and he's back, and they banned him. And at first, even in this thread, it says, at first I was like, well, I don't really use Reddit that much, I've only popped into this account after a long time to vent a little bit on Roll20, what I'd like to see, or whatever it was. But, it kind of got under his skin, and he decided to, ping the moderators and say, hey, I'm not that guy. So it's not an alt account, and first find out what they're talking about. It's not an alt account, and they said, well, how can we be sure? And so he used, apparently there's an app online that can, look at people's phraseology that they use on the internet and determine whether or not one person is likely to be the other, and he sent them a link to that and said, here, have a look-see. How I write in comparison to what this person has written, the different forums that we use and that we don't use, it doesn't overlap. So, here's a little bit of evidence. Hard to disprove a negative, or how do you do it? Disprove a, yeah. Hard to prove a negative, or is it hard to disprove? It's hard to do what you're asking me to do, but here's something to go on. And, apparently, eventually had to ask them to, ping the Reddit moderators, the lords on high, so that they could check and see if his IP address and where he usually logs into Reddit from was, he was just asking them, confirm it. You've banned me from the thing. You made a threat that, this banning could result in a banning across all of Reddit, which I know from experience myself can happen with, one place, piss somebody off, they bang in, then you get caught up in Reddit's automated systems, and there's just a site-wide shadow ban. So basically, he's, asking them to, do your job. Don't just, haphazardly ban people on the Reddit that's very much here for support. And I'm a 5-year customer, and here's my account, and here's my situation. Could you maybe look into some things before you just go deciding that, that you're just gonna ban me? And he didn't get a response for, several days, and then he didn't get a response for several more days, and he's, pinging them and bouncing off of them and trying them on Twitter, and nobody's talking to him, and nobody's telling them what's happening. And eventually it comes to just this. Just him posting this and saying, I've been so poorly treated by this company that I've been a loyal customer of for 5 years. I've told everybody is great and just, used to be a big proponent of them. They have treated me so poorly, they've thrown me out with the bathwater, that I'm closing my account, and here's why. And then he showed on Reddit, took an incredible amount of time, an amount of time posting all of this that would make you question his sanity, perhaps. To show them this is why. This is what's, going on over at Roll20 these days. And so this kicked off on D&D. Now, if we look back at the top of the post, what are we looking at? 45,000 basically upticks. If I refresh the page, it's probably up to 45,000. So it trended a little bit. Let's say it kind of trended a little bit. And I encourage you, if you're interested at all, to read the story, or at least skim it if you weren't able to while it was passing along here, because it's a more and more common tale. It's one I've experienced directly, and we'll get to that later. But so he posts his account of, you know, what Roll20 has done to him on the r/D&D forum, because he can't post it on r/Roll20 because they've banned him. And I think I may have skipped a very important part of this story, which is that at the end of the day, the Reddit moderators, you know, the lords of Reddit, came back to the moderators of r/Roll20 and said, yeah, we did the IP comparison, definitely not the same two guys. And at that point, the moderators got in touch with him, a specific moderator, and said, given that you've been so, like, upset and angry and making threats about I'll cancel my account and I'll tell other people what you've done and that sort of a thing, even though we've determined that you are not the person who we originally banned you for possibly being, that we never bothered to confirm, we're not going to unban you because we think that you're, you know, somebody we don't want around anyway. Apparently because he has, you know, self-respect, and he wasn't just going to roll over and be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, oh, okay, I'll give you however much time you want in order to see if what you just did is actually the right thing, or if you did, why am I talking in Kermit's voice? That's not Kermit's voice. What? So, yeah, basically the moderators got back to him and said, we've confirmed that you're not the asshole that we thought you were, but we've decided that you're a different kind of asshole. We don't want people complaining on our thread the way that you complain. We don't want people, you know, you're probably going to be toxic in the community anyway, so, fuck it, we're going to stand by it. That's sort of what happened. Damn, that's not a half-bad Kermit impression. That's not... Okay. Now, if you want a Kermit impression... Miss Piggy! No, I did it the other day. It was good. Miss Piggy! Hey, everybody, go! So... what happened next was that Nolan T, which is the fellow who he had been communicating with, who the first fellow who got banned had been communicating with, seeing that 45,000 people had jumped in to go, wow, that's a hell of a story. And by the way, the comments on this thing, we just scroll all the way down, the comments on this thing are just piles upon piles of people saying, after reading this, I'm canceling my Roll20.net subscription. Me too. God, what a horrible thing. What a bunch of assholes Roll20 is. I'm canceling. So, Nolan T felt that it was a good time to respond. You know, presumably what you'd want to do in this situation as a person who owns, operates, runs a business, because it turns out Nolan T is a co-founder of Roll20. What you'd want to do is put out the fire, right? You don't want to go throwing gasoline around. You don't want to go, we were right and you were wrong. And, No. You're losing accounts by the second. You got this trending thing about your, you know, all media is good media. All publicity is good publicity is what some will tell you. It's at a certain point that's no longer true. And Nolan T has definitely crossed that line here with Roll20. 45,000 people are going, wow, that Nolan T, what an asshole that is. Wow, he's really running Roll20 into the ground and treating customers like that. Damn. After reading this story, with all of the references and citations, you go through that story, I didn't click down every one of them, but the guy, like, has copy-pastes from every conversation that he had, and links going here to show you what he said there, and links going there, so that you can see him when he's angry and trying to, you know, fight the system, and see if you think his level of anger was too much or not enough. So he's very honest in this whole process about what's going on. So yeah, Nolan T decided it was a good time to respond, and rather than put out fires, what he decided to do was accrue himself in a single comment, negative 34,639 karma points. Nearly as many downticks. 10,000 less, which seems like a lot, but when you're talking about 45,000 to 35,000, wow! Wow, Nolan, you might want to consider that you're wrong, and you're wrong, and maybe that you're wrong at this point, because 35,000 people disagree with you and 45,000 agree with the other guy. And that's just of the people who have read it on Reddit. So let's read through. I think, you know, this is shorter, and I think it's much more interesting to see how someone who, at the end of here, he signs off as co-founder and managing partner of Roll20, that being Nolan T. Jones. Let's see how he decides to handle his platform, his application, and his livelihood being on fire. From Roll20's perspective, a summary of what occurred. A user with a similar name to a prior repeat offender came into a thread titled, "Is criticism of Roll20 allowed here?" with a ready-to-copy-paste 1,400-word list of things they dislike about our platform. That's an assumption. That it's a copy-paste, that it's pre-prepared kind of thing. Among the 40-some other comments in the thread, none of which resulted in bans, this stuck out due to intensity and similarity to a previous poster who had been rather personal in attacking staff. Erring on the side of caution, we issued a ban from the subreddit for probable ban evasion 2 days ago, Sunday. The user then messaged mods, stating innocence, so we did go ahead and message Reddit admins. When the user did not receive, I'm guessing, a response Monday morning, they began threats. He would become an active detractor on social media, and an email with all bold, "If the ban is not lifted and I do not receive an apology from Nolan T by tomorrow morning, I am canceling my Roll20 account, and I will be sure to tell this story on every social media platform I can. Whenever virtual tabletops come up in conversation, you can be assured that I will speak my mind about Roll20 and your abysmal customer service." What I note about that is that in no place does he say, "You fucking cunt asshole shitbag." You know? Clearly the person is angry here and still using civil language. You know, there's nothing in there about snowflake cucks. 2 hours ago, we got the response from Reddit admins that the accounts do not show an IP match. And for this unfortunate and frustrating coincidence, I'm sorry. We never banned the user from using our site or our on-site forums. They made the decision to delete their own account. That's not true from your own previous statement where you issued a ban for him on the... Okay, and I stand with my account administration staff in our decision to maintain a subreddit ban due to the level of this escalation. You stand with your account administration staff, but you're saying that he was calling you out by name. "If the ban is not lifted, I do not receive an apology from Nolan T." So, are you acting as though someone else was managing this and you weren't, Nolan? Why is he calling you out? Ice Cream also, Pawn, remember, have you heard about what they did to Stage 9? That game I recommended you try? Well, you missed out. It's gone. You get nothing. You lose. Good days. No, I didn't. Did they kill it? At Roll20, we have a lot of moderation happening with poor player-on-player or game master-game player interactions. Something we've decided is that we are not Twitter, attempting to capitalize off the most amount of conflict that can be harvested for clicks. We want users who can get along with each other. When someone's response to a ban from an ancillary forum is essentially, "I will spend enormous effort attempting to burn down the store," we know, from experience, that they'll do the same thing to other users they dislike, and we'll be left cleaning up the mess and with a poor user interactions. Also, a poor author writings. Well, we aren't pleased to make the top of subreddits for a reason like this. We know this is a better long-term solution. Critics of Roll20 and our interface are something we value and welcome. Every job interview I've been a part of for bringing on new staff has asked for candidates to describe something that frustrates them or that they dislike about our ecosystem. And every candidate I've ever asked has a passionate response. There's lots more work to do on our platform, and our staff continues to relish the chance to do so and get community input to help. What we do not need are folks, or forks, or spoons, who make that process a hostage situation. We do not need users who feel a need to verbally threaten the livelihoods of staff and eat our work hours with bile. We are comfortable not being the platform for those sorts of users, and remain enthusiastic about being the best virtual tabletop on the market for those who want to be part of our community. Nolan T. Jones, co-founder and managing partner of Roll20. So, his platform was on fire, and he decided to pour gasoline onto it. Which is an interesting tack to take. Yeah, so Nolan T, a man now with negative 34,639 karma points on his response here, who apparently has decided that this comment, this is the one he copied, pasted, and brought all the attention to, so it must be the worst of them, you'd assume. I can't say for sure. This comment is bile. This is bile, and he's taking up your precious time after you banned him for a reason that has been confirmed now by Reddit was objectively incorrect, because he had a username that looked like another user that a couple of years ago you had a problem with, and he was complaining about it, so you just made the connection, just threw him out with the bathwater, and then after all this, you're gonna say that he's bile, and it's a hostage situation, and okay, I would say that you might be sort of on the hostage situation end of here. You know, I've got your Reddit account to something that you're very passionate about, Roll20, 5 years on our service, and you're in the Reddit forums, and you're saying that he held you by the cojones. How did he do that? Exactly, Nolan. Don't worry. Oh, I was going to read some comments. The first comment that's listed here is from me. Because in response to this, now listen, I'm not that blown out of proportion and that like, oh, this must be righted. But boy, I saw an opportunity in this for a fun joke, and also, maybe we can get some clicks over here. Be honest, I just had a really good idea that was like, oh, that is so possibly viral. I mean, because they're Roll20. And it just occurred to me, while we were chatting in Discord, I was like, ooh, somebody quick, buy rickroll20.com. And then I kind of walked away, and then I came back and went, oh, that's too good not to do. So I did. I bought rickroll20.com today. And then I sat down, and I recorded some singing, and I found a MIDI track of Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Break Your Heart. And I made this for you. So feel free to visit rickroll20, and you'll get a little bit of this. Never gonna hear you out, never gonna change my mind, never gonna apologize or unban you. Even in the face of proof, I'll just reject the truth and claim that you're uncouth for having a backbone and defending yourself against my unwarranted accusations. I had that idea at noon. By 1:30, this was up. I'm so happy. I was so proud when I managed to do that kind of thing, when I just seize on something and get it up there. Repeat your video. It's bound to be the new source for Rickroll, new meme type thing. I'm hoping, and here's the thing, like, I put it up, it's about Roll20, but when I wrote down these lyrics, which, 3 minutes just thinking about them, I intentionally tried to stay away from Roll20 because this is not like Roll20. This is sort of the ecosystem of modern business in 2018, and especially with their online presences, and they just don't know what to do with Twitter and Reddit and all that kind of stuff, and they can't seem to hire people who are able to just not pour gasoline on fire. And I feel you, because we've had that problem in the past just in our community. It's always a problem. But that's all you gotta do if you've got people paid on staff. You walk them in, you say, all right, welcome, day one, you're hired. Here's the first rule of Fight Club. Do not pour gasoline on fires. If somebody's angry, they're shouting at you, they're calling you a cunt, they're up in your face, they're saying all kinds of nasty things, and you defuse. I don't care if you hate them. I don't care if you're angry about what they're saying. I don't care if they're personally attacking. You defuse that situation. That's your role. That's why we're paying you money to be here. And just type on Twitter or type on Reddit like that's a job. The reason why it's a job is because you're here to defuse situations. You step in, somebody's really angry, and you go, I'm so sorry for the way that you've been treated. I'm so sorry this is not how we do business. You say whatever you have to, so that by the end, the person who walked in the room going, rah, is going out. All right, thanks a lot. I really feel like I was heard, and like you resolved my problem. That's the whole goal of online support staff on Reddit and Facebook and Twitter. That's what you do. That's the point. What do you, and we've had problems in our community, but we're a little, like, I'm not paying anybody. If I were paying you and you were like blowing things up out of even like larger proportion, if you, as someone who I was paying, had a post on Reddit that got 45,000 upvotes talking about how horrible you are, and then you came up and posted something that got negative 35,000, you're not only fired, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you for, losses, financial losses, because this did not help at all. But this is kind of what we have in modern America, well, in just the modern world in general, but I don't know, I live in America, so I can speak for America. I can speak from my perspective as an American and our businesses and things. Ice cream support staff aren't meant to offer support, you sexy doofus, is why are there no names? Apparently not. And the idea of customer care, I don't think that that's a word anymore. I don't think that's a term in the industry. Used to be a thing, you know? It's not customer care anymore, it's customer support. I think care is a better word to use internally for this because it definitely, in very explicit languages, communicates that what we're doing here is trying to leave our customers with a good taste in their mouth so they'll have good things to say about us and not, you know, this kind of a post where a guy just launches in and he presents all the evidence and all the links and everything like that and 45,000 upticks. We don't want that happening. So at the end of the day, what we're looking for first and foremost is people who can diffuse situations, you know? You ban someone because they have a similar name and you got a suspicion, okay, and then they get in touch with you? All right, here's all that had to happen to manage that situation. He gets in touch with you, says, I'm not the guy, and then, like, requests that they look into it, like, can you confirm it with IP addresses? All you have to do is say, we're going to look into that, we're going to contact Reddit right now, we're going to do it. And then, okay, if he gets back in touch with you before you get the word back from the Lords on High on Reddit, all you have to do is reply. If you reply and say, sorry, really sorry, we're still waiting on, you know, the feedback from Reddit. I've poked the administrators again to try and get a response a little bit quicker. We will keep you informed. You'll be the first to hear. That's all you got to do. One email, one message across Reddit, and it would have managed this whole situation. But like where I see when I read this thing where it went off the rails, it went off the rails when he was left in limbo. You know, Nolan T says that this guy's holding them hostage. You're holding his account hostage. You're treating him poorly as a person who pays you money. He's a paying customer of yours, and you've banned him from using, you know, part of your support forums. I mean, this is a open forum for discussion and people to meet and everything, but it's also part of your customer care, customer outreach, and support. And you've banned him from using it on a suspicion that you have no confirmation of, and that he immediately contacts you and says, please look into it, double check, because I'm not that guy. And when I read through this, what I see is that the place where it broke down and where it turned into this post, this big long post, is where they left him hanging, where they told him, you know, we're going to look into the IP comparison, we're going to contact Reddit, and then days passed and days passed and days passed, and he contacted them again and said, hey, how's that going? And nobody responded. And then he got with them on Twitter and said, hey, this is what's going on Reddit. What's happening? And nobody responded. Like, what is your job again, sir? What are you doing with your social media management? Like, this is your entire business model would have been better off if this never existed as of this day, right? Because of how you've just mismanaged it. Yeah? 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 Are we yeah? I think we're yeah? Yeah? I plan to hire the Yakuza to do the customer support for my businesses. Why are there no names? Well, Nolan T will probably be available shortly when his partners buy him out and say, please just go. Please, for the love of God, just go. Oh, Pawn, you're so naive, says Darth Angelus. You don't see it coming, do you? The fact that your freeze frame on a woman with the voiceover saying something about defending myself from your accusations, you realize if the wrong person sees that, they're going to say it's a comment on sexual misconduct allegations raised by women, right? I know it's not, but I can see someone interpreting it that way. God, what a horrible world we live in. You know, definitely a post-Trump world. Oh, no, a during Trump world. Even worse, that is like something that would come up in your mind, and also you're not wrong. It's you know, Gamergate, post Gamergate world where yeah, there are assholes like that in the world. Yeah. But yeah, so this was the today's little controversy, and I encourage you to visit and share my newly purchased domain, $12 through Google. By the way, I highly recommend Google Domains for purchasing a website, because I've been, you know, off and on buying websites here and there, or helping somebody build a website. I've dealt with domain management and stuff like that for a long time with Google, okay? You buy the domain, it delivers you to a page. It's like, what do you want to do with it? You're going to send it to a host, or you're going to send it to like bounce it to a page? I was going to bounce it to a page. Click here. What page do you want to bounce it to? Here's the link to my YouTube video. Click done. No editing DNS configurations. No, well, it's got to reroute. No, just boom, done. Oh, Google. Oh, start over. I just got here. P.S. Hi, says Gohan. Hello, Gohan. So, from the beginning, there's this guy on Reddit, right? Who got screwed by Roll20. They banned his account. He posted a thing on RD&D. 45,000 upticks for people supporting how, like, shat upon he is by Roll20. Guy who responds from Roll20, developer, who claims to be the co-founder and managing partner. His response has negative 35,000 karma points. Thumbs down a lot, baby. Ice cream, haha. One of my Twitch recommended channels right now is Roll20 app. Yeah, that's the thing. You start searching for this stuff. In fact, that brings me on to sort of where I have personal experience with this and where I'm gonna, you know, widen your scope to be like, well, this isn't just one thing, one day, how they mistreated one person, because I'm gonna take you down my own personal rabbit hole with a little company in Canada by the name of GG Servers. Wait, Ice Cream, how's the thing with Harv going, said Pony. Oh, I skipped them. I read them in the wrong order like I sometimes do. It's going. It has relevance, by the way, to D&D and Roll20 and things. Oh, wait, I hadn't announced that. I haven't. Oh, never mind. Never mind. It has relevance. There will be a role-playing aspect to what Harv and I are doing together. Yes, Harvey of HOC Gaming and I are working together on a thing. Now you know. Don't let it out. Don't tell anybody else if they've just shown it. So, let me take you down a rabbit hole that I've been down before. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the website for the Better Business Bureau, in case you have trouble reading large fonted text. This was between me and James of GG Servers. James owns GG Servers. I believe it's James E., I think it is. This was a situation. Well, maybe I should just read it and it'll explain the situation, yeah? Yeah. I signed up. This is me appealing to the Better Business Bureau. Oh, Jesus, I've clicked on a thing. I shouldn't have clicked on a thing. Oh, God damn it. What have I done? What have I done? There. Okay, no, we're fine. We're fine. This is me reaching out to the Better Business Bureau after GG Servers screwed me over. Board at Harvard making a D&D campaign. D&D campaign. Says the Zedori Pony. I cannot confirm nor deny your suspicions. I am under an NDA that I just... Wait, hang on, let me just write down the... NDA. There we go. All right, I'm under an NDA. I can't say anything about it. I'm sorry. Who can we tell? None of us here have any friends or platforms. Cheers, Major Exelbert. Thank you for the cheer. And then Gohan0646 following up with a cheer. I thought that was Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, the BBB? Yeah, they branched out. This is a subsidiary. Better Business Bureau, a subsidiary of Bed Bath & Beyond. So after GG Servers went and effed me over, I ended up contacting the Better Business Bureau, some Canadian business authority, as well as PayPal, in order to get my money back. I signed up for the gold hosting package with GG Servers June 5th via... When I tried to log on, the control panel took a full minute to log me in, then up to half a minute to load each subsequent page. My server developer, Noah, I'm talking him up there. It makes it sound more professional. My server developer couldn't get the server to respond enough to even begin configuring it. I opened a support ticket, and there's the number. Andy Mitrash's, it's definitely Canadian. That's Montreal. That is French Canadian. The panel you are on is currently under maintenance until June 7th. Until this is over, we cannot assure optimal functionality. So on June 5th, I just signed up for a brand new thing. Now, if you're not familiar with purchasing servers, usually you buy them and 3 minutes later you've got an email saying the server's been configured, it's ready, here's your login credentials, go, son, go. And I got all of that email and then I tried to log in and we both did and we couldn't get the server to work. So he says, Andy tells me, he or she, I don't know, tells me it'll be until June 7th. And I believe this was the only sentences that I got back from writing a complaint explaining, here's what's going on, here's what's happening, I just signed up for the account, what's going on, is there something we're doing wrong? And I get back a 2-line response, the panel is under maintenance until June 7th, until then, you know, you get what you get. I go, okay, well, I wanted to start this project, you know, tonight, so let me just look around. Oh, here's another Minecraft server, since there's a billion of them. Oh, click, boom, done. And we're developing on a different server that night, right there. So I request a refund. Since I just signed up, I replied substantively that I'd chosen another host who could give me access immediately and I'll take a refund, as I was not interested in waiting up to 48 hours to begin this project when I might just as easily establish hosting elsewhere, which I did. Darth Angelus cheering 10. NDA, you're under a narrowly dilated anus? No. Well into the next day, Andy replied to my request for refund with this one line. The panel was already fixed before the end of yesterday. So I again respond to Andy with like an explanation of, well, okay, no big deal, but I wanted to start now, so I started now. I got another host. Go ahead and give me a refund. We're not going to use you. And my response is, the panel was already fixed before the end of yesterday. I request a refund, and I get, what's this? What is this? What's that for? Who's that for? So you're saying no refund? Like, what do how is this a response to my question? Or my inquiry or my, you know, request for a refund? That's it. That's all I got. Note the lack of, I'm so sorry to hear that, or anything that might acknowledge that this is not how GG Servers usually operates in either of Andy's terse, disinterested responses. Just these single lines of text, hiding within them as subtext, not my problem. And it really is, isn't it? When you request a refund and that's all you get back. Like, should I request the refund again, Andy? What are you doing here? What's your job? Meanwhile, I filed for a refund with the billing department, my second unresolved ticket, and there's the number, because I got the sense that Andy was not going to be the person who was going to help me here. Now, what isn't in here is that later in this communication, Andy would eventually tell me, you know, you need to file with the refund department anyway, which I'd already done because I suspected that Andy wasn't going to do it. But, you know, if you're customer support and you can't start a fucking refund for the customer, you're not customer support. I don't know what you're doing now. You need to, you know, maybe that's not on Andy, but it's on somebody in the business that you can't or won't, or it's not your job. Like, you can't at least refer me. You can't, like, send my case number along to the people who do it, and then you can't, no, okay. I no longer have access to the ticket log, so I can't quote myself because as of right now, Jacob E. of GG Servers, I believe the owner, has decided to summarily delete my paid-for account that I never got to use without refund, claiming that I harassed good Andy by complaining that his customer service acumen was awful, that I still hadn't received a single word of apology for my inconvenience, and that when I requested a refund of him, he didn't address my request at all. All of these objective truths. The insular, self-enabling incompetence seen at work in this simple, easily resolved support ticket, totally deserving of a refund, having been requested immediately after immediate failure to fulfill the terms of purchase, was to me previously unimaginable. You buy something, you're still standing at the checkout counter going, oh, hey, this doesn't work. And they go, oh yeah, it might not work until, 3 days from now. Well, there's a guy selling it over there. I think I'm going to go buy the one. Does yours work? Yeah, ours works. Yeah, I think I'm going to go buy it from him. Just, can I have my money back? No. No. Cheer 10 still sounds better than Amazon service to people who sell on Amazon, says Rex Gates. Oh, God. I've seen Rex has had me do some work for him on Amazon in the past, and I've seen just enough of your nightmare to know you can keep it. Where GG Servers Jacob E. puts forward that my complaint and criticism, where its representatives take dismissive postures while literally holding my money hostage, quantifies harassment and therefore breach, I have little answer other than the supreme shock that any business person in a management capacity could review these support ticket logs and deny the company's wrongdoing. I should think Jacob E. would be claiming Andy had misrepresented GG servers in both tone and action, but no! Jacob E. stands firm to proclaim, yes, this is how we do business. GG servers for life, one love. So I will make clear here and now that I was owed a refund 2 hours after signing up, when GG Servers communicated that it intended to not deliver what I'd purchased for the next 2 days. Further, in an industry where its competitors seek 99.9% uptime, I am completely justified to take this immediate failure, accompanied by unapologetic sentiment, as more than a good reason to get out now, before I find myself in bed with an incompetent, disinterested, dismissive server host. And most importantly, regardless of whether Jacob E. and GG Servers, in their infinite wisdom, judge my fair complaints lodged after 6 communiques, that's a $5 word right there, back and forth with its various customer support arms to be harassment and therefore in breach of terms, one cannot breach a contract that is already in breach. Good sirs! Good day, I say! GG Servers failed to deliver the product advertised within the timeline advertised. I had filed for the refund long since. I was trying to get my refund as a support agent refused to address the issue of refund and acted as though it was not their interest nor their job to do so, and all this while deigning to imply that GG Servers was content to charge me, a brand new customer, for what at first they stated would be up to 48 hours of service inaccessibility without offering a credit. That didn't come up either. You know, hey, you just subscribed to our service and we're going to be down for up to 2 days and you wanted to start now and you're already pissed and talking about going somewhere else. Maybe I could offer you a credit to try and keep you around and, you know, hey, the server's back up. Are you sure? Because we'll give you a free month, free first month, something like that. None of that. I do not ask, but demand a full refund, as I have presently been defrauded by this miserable organization. Thank you very much, Ronan Pawn. 2017, 0606. Ice cream, how much was the cost and did it get resolved, says Gohan0646. Indeed, I had paid through PayPal and I submitted through PayPal at the same time I submitted with the BBB and the Canadian version, the Canadian-specific, government-specific version of sort of Better Business Bureau. And indeed, PayPal reviewed the case and went, yeah, you're giving him his money back, and just yanked it out and gave it back to me. I think the cost of setting up the server was something like, I don't know, $8 or less, maybe 12 at the most, but it wasn't much. And much like our, you know, fella here who wrote himself a novel about how Roll20 treated him, it's about the premise, it's about the point. I'm not going to walk away from my money because, like, you think you get to keep it. Especially as it relates to the message that I received from Jacob E., which I have conveniently pulled up for you. Good afternoon, Ronan Pawn. Good afternoon, Roy. As you have continued to insult our technician throughout the ticket, well, he was simply trying to do his job. In our employ, we are hereby terminating your account and services without refund for violation of our terms of service harassment clause. Here's the clause. Using of the GG server's services to transmit any material by email, uploading, posting, or otherwise that harasses another is prohibited. We trust that in the future you will treat employees with the respect they deserve. That you will treat employees who are holding your money hostage, who have responded to you twice with one sentence terse responses that refuse to address your requests whatsoever. We trust that in the future you won't mention these massive failings to us, criticize us for them, and that our employees will be able to remain just as bad as they've ever been at our jobs, because clearly we don't train them. And we've decided that our rules, which, by the way, you read those terms of service, this is for a Minecraft server. This terms of service, this concept of harassment, this is for the servers. This is for people using their servers in order to harass players, or using, you know, players harassing admins, or people harass, like, this wasn't designed for our customer support. But Jacob E., came up with a real fun solution there, where he thought, I'll trap him in a loophole, and I'll keep his money, delete his account after it's only been open for a week while he's still in open support tickets. Then he can't even log in and continue the support tickets, can't even log in and copy the support tickets. Got him. You didn't get me, Jacob E., because right now, I'm telling everybody who's watching this all about GG servers and how you treat customers and how your support is untrained, doesn't answer the questions that they're asked, doesn't feel like it's their job to handle the issues raised by the people who are asking for support, can't be bothered to transfer a ticket, can't be bothered to respond. And then when you start calling them out on the fact that this is not how you do this job, sir, you, management, owner, I believe owner, I looked it up back in the day, and I believe owner, you stand behind your support agents who have done nothing but rob someone, who have not responded adequately, and then you step in and come up with quaint loopholes to try and thieve the money even better and in a more secure way. Good luck with your business model, Jacob, but you didn't get me. Good afternoon, Roy. No, Ronan Pawn. Ronan Pawn. Hello, Casper. How you doing? Hey, Pawn Sister, I see you there. Did anybody cheer while I'd pay to watch this on Broadway, this is why while I was reading. I've been a silent coal while Amazon USA managers chewed out Philippines. That was interesting. Oh, really? What's parallel cheering? Well, wait, Rex Skates posted a big one. They could not hear me. They asked if I wanted to be on a call with them. It was interesting. I actually helped Amazon create a registered product thingy when they started it 4 years ago, so I had a few friends with an NDA with Amazon. Oh, you're just showing off now. Pawn Sister said, just because something is in the terms of service doesn't make it legally binding. You can't just put anything in an end-user license agreement and it's suddenly legitimate. Yeah. Sorry, everyone can agree to any contract that they want to, but some things in a contract are not actually enforceable at law. A lot of times. That's a modern practice, isn't it? Let's dogpile on top of this company and take them down, says it's a secret every pony. Well, you have to get on Reddit, and you might want to wait a couple of days, because right now the big thing is about Roll20. Since we're gossiping, parallel cheering, since we're gossiping about company failures, Telltale Games, who recently laid off 250 employees with 25 more to follow without warning or severance pay, now faces a lawsuit for failure to follow California labor law regarding mass layoffs, which may require them to pay all employees released 60 days worth of wages. Oh, hells yeah. That's what you like to hear, when the laws actually catch up to the bastards. And then Lo-Fi Loop saying, hi Pawn, from current occasion, could you please elaborate on the Zen way of dealing with people who talk at the movie theater? Thanks in advance. You go, shut up! And then you just turn, you completely don't get involved in it. Don't let your chest get all, no bad look at him. You just turn and go, shut up! And then just start watching the movie again. Zen way to do it. Rex Gates, cheers 10. Here's a cheers since you asked. Oh, thank you, Rex. Did you call someone a doo-doo head again, Ronan Pawn? I did not receive any bans. This is not about me today. Well, it is, because I'm talking about my experience with the same kind of a treatment. Just trying to, draw that connective tissue between what's happening today with Roll20, what was happening with GG servers some time ago, and just generally that this is sort of the way business is conducting themselves, especially in this new social media environment that they still apparently don't understand and don't have any firm grasp on. And to me, it's all complicated and crazy, but to me it seems rather simple from a business perspective. If somebody's managing your Twitter account, your Reddit account, your Twitch, whatever it is, social media-wise, rule number one, never, ever, ever write anything disparaging. If you run the company and you want to make a public statement about a thing that's one thing. But if you got employees, if you got moderators, and, somebody's really annoying them and really just getting in their sides and stuff, don't say anything is the first response. And if they're, talking back, they're talking to you directly and they have, questions that you have to respond to, respond specifically to those questions and don't get into it. Okay? Respond to those questions as though someone else asked them. Like, there are a set of rules of civility that are easy enough to maintain. Now, if you're a private individual, then, you know, all rules are off. There's so many trolls out there, you kind of want to set up your bridge over the trolls and troll them back, and there's, you know, you can have fun with it. But running a business, having people who are on the payroll just to manage this social media stuff, and this is how they behave, and it's just more and more common, isn't it? I think it's more and more common because the large businesses in America, at least, I can speak for, all have developed such monopolies on their industries, they know they don't have to treat people with any decency or respect. So you call them up and, you know, it takes you 45 minutes to unsubscribe from a service or that kind of a thing, and nobody's really interested in, you know, working with you to try and solve an issue and that kind of a deal. And that starts at the top with giant corporations with their monopolies and their oligopolies and their, you know, monopolies that are sharing the markets together instead of competing, and quiet handshakes in the back room and sending each other big cigars to smoke and puff while they think about all the little people who they're fucking in the ass every day. With that going on, it starts there, but I feel like it starts to trickle down because that mentality, even though it's not sustainable in a smaller business, you see that, you see other people doing that, and you go, hey, surely we can get away with that, right? Just sort of on a subconscious level. We got some problems, man. And Casper knows about this because Casper manages friggin' social media networks and groups of people and stuff, and you know, when's the last time that you just, like, got in somebody's shit while you're being paid to, like, manage a community or something like that? You know, that's the whole job, is to, like, swallow other people's shit occasionally. Like, smooth it over. I used to, says Casper VLD. Well, how did that go? Because I remember you being a very calm and steadying hand for the Kerbal Media Group, even when, you know, certain members, myself, were, you know, basically trying to light the place on fire. You weren't there with gasoline, pouring it on, you know? If I recall. Apparently Telltale was still hiring people right up until they all got fired, says Pony. Telltale can't afford to pay the severance, though. Yeah, that'll be a problem. Rexgate's cheered 13 bits, which is why I hate California. We are an, at-will employment state. We never need a reason to lay someone off, unless, of course, you're a semi-large company. Oh, I didn't know that. And Mosaic Task Force cheered 10. Thank you guys for the cheers. Had you lived in the EU, you could have proclaimed EU Regulation 2016-679, Article 15 of the GDPR or something. What are you talking about, Mosaic Task Force? Barely understand our laws. In fact, the IRS barely understands our laws, so what hope does a simple, you know, citizen have? Rex Cates, but I like to slander people. Don't we all? You know, unless you're Wendy's and you want weebs to jack off to your mascot. What? What? Unless you're Arby's and you've got a nihilist account. That's not theirs, though, is it? That's not theirs, but Nihilist Arby's on Twitter is a very fun account. But is that how you speak of it? We haven't. I'm just reading the chat backwards to try and catch up. I swallowed tons of shit, but there's always the line. Yeah, and, you know, there's a line, and when someone crosses it, I don't know, like, if you're being paid, you still gotta, like, approach that with a certain dignity and civility, right? You've got to be thinking about somebody, my supervisor, is gonna look at this. You know, if we're in a public forum here, if, you know, or even if we're not, this is gonna roll out, if somebody's pissed off, whatever I write here is gonna roll out, for an example, the way it has here out on Reddit. So I gotta represent, like, maybe I can say what needs to be said, but I gotta say it in a way that I can send to print, you know, that could be published. Jim Ice Creaming, lol, I got banned from the Stage 9 Discord server for suggesting that the game devs are wrong not to take action against CBS. Some people shouldn't be allowed to moderate a server. I roll. Well, you're always getting banned, so I think that's more, it's probably you as opposed to them. You're always coming back saying, I had to make another alt account, they banned me. Once someone wished my entire family died of cancer right after my dad actually did. That's the only time I lost my cool, says Casper VLD. Well, then, you know, You were justified, and the internet would stand behind you. Having understood that scenario, and having seen someone, literally threaten, like, you should go and die, or your family should die. When people start invoking other people's family on the internet, you might have gone too far there. You might be a little bit too involved in this conversation to see clearly, sir. Your family and all of your loved ones. Rex Gates cheered 5. Chorlets? Is it chocolates? Was that where you work better than gas? I can spread fires well. Chor lattes? What's a chorlet? What, Rex, your knowledge of explosives, it surpasses me. Casper says, the best social media managers are huge trolls, but secretly. You need a certain amount of decorum and stoicism. You gotta present, yeah. You can't, the brand that you're representing is attached to everything that you write. And I'll tell you what, OBS, thank God that that's a free program. Because if you go look at their forums, and you look at the people who are moderating the forums for OBS, the live streaming software, open broadcasting software, which I'm using now. See? You can't, but it's what's making this all possible. Man, their forum moderators just do not pull punches. They have no sense of, they will just, get pissed off at people for asking the same question again. And it's like, dude, you don't really have the right to do that. I mean, if you were a proper company, you have to acknowledge you don't have the right to do that. Like, it's another repost of a tweet. Why don't you search the forums first? Well, here's the thing, fellas. If you want people to not ask those questions, fix your fucking software. Companies so rarely look at it this way. We've got all these complaints. We got people, contacting us all the time, but, asking us, how does this work? And it's right there in the program. Why can't I do this? And it's right there in the program. And we've posted. Here's the instructions for how to do it. And people just keep asking about it. That, friends, is an indication that your user interface sucks balls. It's not on them to stop asking the question. It's on you to create an atmosphere and a product that doesn't require them to ask the question. It's the same question 12 times a day. Why do we get that question over and over again? Could it be that a highly used feature is hidden under menus that it shouldn't be? Could it be that you've named the feature something that's unintuitive in the interface? Yeah, OBS, you couldn't charge money for that. I actually said to an OBS forum guy once when I was communicating with him, I said, if I were in charge here, I wouldn't know what to do because I would be on the fence. You got so much backlogs of people helping other people solve problems and answers that you've posted to this forum, but your own moderators have been so toxic in this community that I would be really tempted to just delete the forum entirely. Just wipe it out and start from scratch with rules. Having learned something along the way, because, man, you go searching for OBS, that's the problem with having, open forums that just last in perpetuity. You go searching for a specific problem in OBS, you might get an answer from 2014 that's about an outdated version, but that's the first one that pops up on Google, because it's still the most popular response to that question, because it was for all those years. And then people go back to that one, and not only are they getting the wrong information for an outdated version, but you also have, moderators who just were assholes before you got policies in place and before you explain to people you can't do that. You can't treat our user base like that. That's just going to be there forever now. So what do? OBS forums is one that I would just format and say, we'll answer all the questions again from scratch and we'll do it right this time. I see Darth Angelus ice cream. Did anyone else? What's that you say, Pawn? Ban Jim? Okay. Sure, what? Crowlate? Crowlate. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Oxygen source. Yeah. Send me some. I got a house to burn down. We'll talk about that after the live stream break. Let me catch up with chat, and we're gonna have a live stream break here. I went to Starbucks for the first time in my life today. I was pressured into it, okay? Don't blame me. Jim, you're always talking about things that nobody else is talking about, so maybe that's why you get banned from all the damn communities. Oh, Jermaine cheering 100. Let me catch up to you. Taco Bell's Twitter is also pretty funny, said Ren Phoenix. Ice Cream Pawn. You have breached our contract. I came here for entertainment, which you have failed to provide. As such, I require you to immediately provide some form of entertainment. Stripping is acceptable. Failure to do so would result in my immediately informing the Better Business Bureau of your failure and sending debt reclamation agents to seize your toupee. The hair is real. Thank you. Wait, that was, yeah, thank you, Darth Angelus. Get me Tim Hortons while you're there. Get me Tim's Horton. No, don't do that. Jermacian Cheering 100. Last, L-A-S-T. Listen, apologize, solve, and thank for great customer service and support. That's right. Like, I've had the experience, and I think we all have, of calling up some business and you're angry. You're frustrated as hell. Something is not working. Sometimes out of the box, the way that it's advertised, and it's gone wrong, and you've just spent half an hour trying to fix it yourself, and you finally got to the point where you're like, this should just work. I've looked at, all right, I'm just going to call them up. And you're frustrated. You get the person on the line, you're already in that kind of state, and you're like, you know, hi, yeah, I just bought your product, and I'm trying to plug it in. I got it hooked up to the Ethernet, and it's just, there's nothing. I'm getting no signal. And you may start out on that foot. And it is the job of customer support and customer care, which was not present in this situation, which was not present in Nolan T developers negative 35,000 karma that he got in one post. Apparently, if I'm not being misinformed, the second most downvoted thing on Reddit in history. Your job as a customer care agent is to have that person call up frustrated, and by the end of the call, they're going, okay, thank you for that. Thank you. You know? And honestly, if I'm running customer support, this would be me. Not for like a giant corporation, but for me. I would tell the customer support agents, throw the company under the bus when you need to. That would be my policy, because I think that's a strong policy. If you've got a customer on the line and they're complaining about a problem in the product, it didn't work, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, be completely willing to get that customer on your side by joining him on his side. By saying, you know, not for nothing, but yeah, that we've had a lot of problems with that piece of, that particular feature. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, they needed more time in testing, you're right. Like, go ahead and throw us under the bus. I would say do it. Absolutely do it, because at the end of that phone call, the customer is going to get off the line. They're going to feel like they were heard. They're going to feel like they're, you know, hopefully you have solved their issue. And also, if we do have failings like that, then best to acknowledge them and then, you know, fix them, as opposed to denying them, pretending like they're not going on, not acknowledging them to the customer, which means you don't acknowledge it to yourself, which means the word doesn't make it upstairs and things don't change for the better. My policy in my business would be, you know, feel free to throw the company under the bus in order to make the customer happy. You know, let them know that even if you have to make shit up, let them know your complaint is valid. That is a big failing. I've been having problems, even if you haven't been having other calls. I've had 3 calls today about that already. You're not alone. I'm very sorry. I am communicating with the dev team, whatever you got to say. Make them happy. They're going to have their positive experience with you on customer support, even if you're talking down the company, is going to mean more. It's going to mean more. And then, you know, the next time they call, you know, maybe they're calling back about something else, and they're like, you know, I got this guy on the phone last time, and he really talked to me, and you guys have gotten a lot better since then. Like, put them in a positive frame of mind, even if you have to throw the company under the bus. Let it be known the hair is real, said Jim. Just let me gloat. Your president was laughed at by a huge group of world leaders in the UN General Assembly, officially the most serious and dull place in the world. It's what he was going for, I think. It's a big joke. It's Saturday Night Live's longest-running gag. Pawn's hair is as real as my heterosexuality, says Why Are There No Names? Ooh. Casper VLD says Darth Angelus. The most interesting thing was he went there and didn't expect to be laughed at. Oh, of course. I don't know what he said. I've been too absorbed by Reddit. But when we come back, you know, we'll carry on talking about this back and forth. But I also have some other things to introduce you to. That being, the Detroit police were on my street today for another visit. Another visit. And I will tell you that story when we come back from live stream break. It's going to be 7 minutes. Ice Cream, Pawn, where'd you get the rainbow thingy on YouTube? Oh yeah. I'm running Stylus is the plugin, and if you search like YouTube under Stylus, you install Stylus into Chrome, and then you search for you go to YouTube, and then you click the down. Fuck it, I'll show you because it's very cool. So if we go over to YouTube, and then where's YouTube? YouTube, and then we click on Stylus up here, and then we drop chat so you can actually goddamn see it. You can like pull up different things that will like change this. So YouTube's dark mode is very unreliable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I've installed better full dark theme for YouTube so that it doesn't burn my eyes every time I look at it. And I've installed the Nyan Cat progress bar video player. So when
the truth, they claim that you're uncouth for having a backbone.
and there's actually supposed to be a Nyan Cat there floating across, but it ain't working, but I don't care. It's cute. It's cute, it's fun, and we're going to live stream break. Stop cheering at me. I thought Detroit PT didn't visit your street. Once in a blue moon, indeed they do. Rexgate's cheering 5, look at full context, and it's not what media is bring up. Yep. Me are with B2 for. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Thank you for the cheer, Rex. We'll be back in 7 minutes after this live stream break. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you some video of the Detroit police at work, and we're going to talk about why they visited me. Back in 7. Pawn not out. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream. Twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. I was rushing. I wanted to change the load. I had a load of clothes in the washer. I wanted to get them into the dryer before I got back to the live stream. And I come running up the basement stairs, and the cat's running behind me and just gets underneath my legs, and he's running along with me. And I didn't kick him, but we made contact. It wasn't like a kick, but it was like a gentle, like, caught him on my shin and just shoved him, and he just went, because he already had his own velocity. And then it was just cat abuse live on the Ronan Pawn live streams, twitch.tv, only here, the only place you'll see it. Oh god, you've been whipping each other with cheers in chat while I've been gone. Thank you, Rax, for gets out whip, Pony wanna help. Crispy, what are your preferences in location? Jeez, you've been having some fun, haven't you? And without me, nonetheless. I've just been kicking cats around, so I guess, alright, fair enough. We're even now. Will you shut up? Thank you, Kevin McLeod. Welcome back to the live stream. I have some video to show you of the Detroit police on my street. However, yeah, we'll do this first, and then I gotta remember, so then I just write down, because I don't think I got around to the little note for later, something I want to mention. However, this video is not current. This is not the recent video. This is sample video. Since I moved in to my $2,500 foreclosed home here on the streets of Detroit, Michigan, on the northeast side, the police have visited my house, well, my road, a number of times. Never when you need them. But they have made at least a regular habit of coming down my street once every 6 to 8 months, thrice in a row for the last year and a half. And that is in response to, I hope I'm not getting myself in trouble here, that is in response to a drug house being on my street. After I bought this place, about 4 to 6 months later, some folks moved in to a house across the way, and it looked all legitimate and reasonable, and the fella came over and said hello, and he was an uncleaned, unwashed sort of a fellow, but so am I on a certain day. So, you know, thought not too much of it. And ever since then, there's been an awful lot of traffic in front of that house. Day and night, once every 20 minutes or maybe 30 at the latest, on average, I would say, someone pulls up and gets out of their car, goes to the door, and then knocks on the door. They're there for about 20 seconds, and then they walk back down, get in their car, and drive away. I wonder what could be going on there. Yeah, I mean, I've heard, you know, certain unhappy customers shouting, and I know the drug paraphernalia terms now. Currently, the code lingo is boys and girls. You want a boy, or do you want a girl? A boy is heroin, and a girl is crack. So, you know, give me a boy and 2 girls. That's sort of the code lingo. Anyway, you know, all fun and light here. Anyway, today was one of my little visits that I get occasionally. Now, this footage is from a previous visit. I think it was the first time that I ever saw this happen, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on out there? The SWAT. And I didn't even catch them when they first showed up. But the SWAT was out at the house, and this was like a year ago. And yeah, I don't know that they're actually the SWAT. They're clearly a drug enforcement, you know, group in under the city of Detroit here. And they pulled up and poured out of the van and broke the door in and pushed in to the house. And by the time I caught up to it, you know, it was basically here, where people were just, I think they're just wrapping up at this point. That I sleep a lot, so I woke up kind of in the middle of it. But this is the police. You'll notice that the police here in the city of Detroit, when they're doing these drug raids, they wear balaclavas. They wear masks over their faces. There's a reason for that. Probably shouldn't be showing this video for that reason. They fear retaliation, okay? they're afraid that the guys with the guns and the training, couldn't protect themselves and their property and their families if people knew their identities and had pictures of them and that sort of a thing, which really fills you with, you know, pride and hope and just confidence. Pong, you should ask for some samples. Thank you. Why are there no names? I'll see what they can do for me. But yeah, so this is that house, and today's event didn't go down quite like this. I actually heard the shout outside of the first, of the breacher, and I walked over to the window and saw them because I heard, "Please, come down, come down," and then boom. And I walked over to the window just in time to see what must have been a dozen people wearing these masks, rushing into this house, tossing it again. And so the backstory, the history here is that once every 6 months, 6 to 8 months, what'll happen is the police come out and they toss the house. They go in, they find, whoever's been working the house, and, well, they try to catch them. I'm not sure that they've ever caught anybody. I've never seen them pull anybody out, put anybody in handcuffs and take them away. I've never seen it. It makes me wonder, since they're always in operation, if they don't get advance notice that these guys are on their way. But anyway, I've never seen them pull anybody out. I think I've seen, on one instance, a fellow come out of the house after the raid, so maybe he managed to hide so successfully in the house from 12 people raiding it that he was able to just wait them out, and then they left, and then I saw him, like, slip out the front door and try and, like, he ran down, and he tried to look natural as he was walking across the street to go somewhere else and make a phone call and contact, the higher-ups in the business and let them know what had gone down. So what happens every 6 to 8 months is police come out, they toss the joint. If they find anything, they take it away. I suppose if they've ever caught anyone, then they take them away. And then they leave. And 30 minutes later, the house is back open for business, selling boys and girls by the load. Ice cream. They have a safe room, says Jamaican. Perhaps they do. They have a very good hiding space somewhere in that house. Perhaps. I don't know what I saw, basically. Basically, when this stuff goes on, I try not and look too hard. Generally, I try not and look too hard at what's going on over there because, on days like today, in which the police came by again in this fashion, on days like today, I don't want anybody thinking that I called them in. And at this point, I should like to think that they know their business and they know that they're just on a 6 to 8 month schedule. Because what happens is they come in, they toss the house, 30 minutes later, it's open for business again. They got another guy in there, or they've got the same guy in there if they weren't caught. They've restocked, whatever they have to do. Most an hour of downtime on the days that the police come in and raid the drug house, and then it's back up in operation. And they don't come back. They don't come back for another 6 to 8 months. The City of Detroit Police Department has to at least look like they're doing something, right? Look like they're fighting the drug war, look like they're trying to clean up the streets. So they know about this house. They return to it with regularity, almost on a fucking timer. And, yeah, they don't actually accomplish anything with the house. They don't actually stop anybody from doing nothing. I mean, we're watching right here is, that guy actually used to mow my lawn for a bit. He was staying in that house with them off and on and doing little odd jobs. I think we know why he was doing odd jobs and what he was getting in exchange. But he used to mow my lawn, and I'd pay him, and then, I think I know what he was using the money for as well. But he was a good guy. He was a solid guy. He actually got picked up. I remember, he disappeared for like 6 months. He came back into the neighborhood, and I caught up with him. And, he said, yeah, I got picked up. I was in jail for 6 months. And, now I'm back on the streets. I'm going to head back out to my family in California, that kind of thing. And he actually meant it, and he actually disappeared. I mean, either that or he got picked up again, but I haven't seen him ever since. But he was a good guy. He was a solid dude. He did more than just, the basics. I'd ask him to mow the lawn, and he'd fucking pull weeds and stuff like that, too. And very reasonable rate. He was a good guy for what he was caught up in anyway. What camera is this? Many are impressed. Why, it's this. It's not good. It's a Panasonic HC V70, 24 megapixels, full HD, 60 frame per second camera. on lockdown on a tripod in this shot, so it looks all right, doesn't it? Yeah, in certain situations, this one looks all right, but it's definitely not like a DSLR or anything too nice. No changeable lenses. I can put little lens, you know, additions on it, little filters and things, and I've got them. But yeah, that's how it works around here. Is they come out, they toss the house, and then they don't come back for 6 months. And it's entirely possible. I've been showing this video, and really, for my own safety, I shouldn't. My only guarantee for safety is that nobody watches these things but you guys, right? You know, very likely the cars that you've seen driving by and that you would see driving by if I continued playing this video probably have something to do with the business, you know? They're either buyers coming by and going, oh, shit, what happened there? Oh, those are cops, let's go. Or they're, you know, the people who are trying to get their business back on their feet as quickly as possible, because that's how they run it. It's, I don't know, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? To think that the police can know which are the houses that are selling drugs, raid them, and then within a half an hour they're back up doing business and the police don't come back for 6 months. Because it's like, everything is on the surface in that scenario, isn't it? We know that they sell drugs out of this house. We know they're doing business out of this house. We come in, we flip it, and then we give them another 6 to 8 months to do their business, and then we come in and flip it again. Like, we are just doing this to present the image. We need to present the image. We need to hassle them occasionally. But we know that they'll just be right back up the next day. Not even the next day. Within hours. Within half of an hour of when we leave. What are you going to do? You know, if we really tried to take a place down, I have been privy to someone telling, third party, so my father speaking to his cousin about who also lives in Detroit, about his drug traffickers problem in his area. He called the police on it. The police actually came, which I was like, really? They came when you called them? What's that about? They don't usually do that around here. But they came out and they told him, this is what he told my father that they told him, that my father told me. They told him to his face, if you want to get rid of those guys, burn the house down. Because that's the only thing you can do. And that's an acknowledgement of the fact that the police can't do anything about these houses. They can't, you know, they can come in, they can toss them, they can harass them. Maybe they could, you know, do a campaign of harassment over a couple of days, but that would just mean that they would pick up and relocate. They'd find another abandoned house, a foreclosed property, a condemned something to set up shop in, and it'd be somewhere else. It's honestly better for them as, you know, it's more convenient for them to just poke them every now and then, harass them like that, but keep them in the same location. At least you know where the traffic's centralized then. Like, these are the tactics that are very legitimate and very real. Like, there's no, I can't argue with it. It makes perfect sense. If you were the police, if you were the city at large, if you're trying to manage drug traffic problems in the city, what are you going to do and how are you going to do it? Well, we know if we shut them down for real at this particular distribution location, they're just going to change areas, and then we have to go and find where they've changed areas to in order to monitor that one. At least, if we poke them, you know, show them that we're still around, that they can't operate with impunity, they'll, you know who's in charge, which they don't, because you're not. But, you know, there will be a show of force, and additionally, Jesus, you guys. And additionally, we'll know where they're centralized, and that's important. You know, costs money and time and effort to figure out where they've picked up and moved to. Might as well keep them where they are, especially when they're on a road like my road with my $2,500 house, and the house next door to theirs is bombed out and abandoned, and the house next door to that one, down past that tree behind chat, is also abandoned, and the house right there is also abandoned, and the house the other side of that one is condemned, and they were supposed to tear it down 2 months ago, and then they said they posted a sign, and then they didn't. And then across the street, there's 3 occupied homes and 3 not occupied homes. It's like, this is a good place to keep the drug business. It's weird, though, because you feel like there's supposed to be a morality to the system, you know, an awareness of how it works and that sort of a thing. And it's just not there. It's very cold and exacting, and it has to be. It absolutely has to be. That's the end of the video. But, you know, it's weird to wake up to the world you live in. You know, this is how the drug war is managed. Once we know where they are, keep them there. it's better for us. It's easier for us if we you know, push them. They're just going to pick up and move to some other location. Then we got to track them down, find them. Maybe they move in somewhere else, and then there's a neighbor who, you know, won't tolerate it, and he's uppity and stuff like that, and then maybe we got a dead body on our hands. You know? It's safer for everybody involved to just let them be as they are, where they are. And now I'll read the 9,000 cheers that you that I just ignored. The picture quality is great. Oh, thank you. It took too clean for a phone cam. Yeah, this is the camera that you guys bought me with the that, was it an Indiegogo or was it a Kickstarter? With that campaign that you guys set up all on your own with Rex's help and Jay's help and Pony's help. Jay's been gone for a while, so it's hard for me to remember the name. Was it Jay or was it Jason? You guys gave me the money that I used to buy that camera, and by the way, you know how well I've taken care of it? This screen, this is cracked to shit. I can barely see what's going on there. I got like this amount of space that isn't black. That isn't that black streaky weirdness that you get on a camcorder. All right, catching up with cheers. Major Exhibit cheered 5, civil asset forfeiture. They get to keep whatever money they find. They actually do something about that house. They lose a reliable source of revenue. That's true too. Yeah, civil asset forfeiture, if you've never heard of that, that's an American thing where basically you can arrest money and property. And the deal with that is money and property doesn't have civil rights the way that a human being does. So there's no assumption of innocence and we have to prove your guilt. We can take your money and assume that it's guilty, assume that it has something to do with drugs or something like that, and then it's ours, and you have to disprove that it was involved in that sort of a thing. You have to source the cash. So basically, it's legalized theft by the police is entirely possible within this system, and we're just trusting that they don't do that. You should watch John Oliver's show last week tonight for our level of trust that they don't do that. Ice cream. They are just rousting them so they stay in line and don't get too big, says Jermaine. Well, I think they're running the business well, you know. That business does not turn into problems for me on the street. I mean, the guy who broke into my house was certainly using their product, so there's that. But in terms of, like, people hanging around or stealing shit or, you know, making nuisance on the street, they're smart enough to, like, just live here. And in fact, they had to get that way because the last guy who was in the house before whoever's in the house now, God, they just basically locked the doors and must have been using the product. Hey, Evil Donner Balkan resubscribed for 14 months in a row. Thank you, Evil Donner Balkan. That's a horrible timing for a resub. So yeah, they, thank you, Evil Donner Balkan. The last guy, they must have been using the product because he was just like, they never looked like they were anything other than a drug house. And at least this guy, like, looks like he's living there, you know? He's got an air conditioner in the window, they barbecue occasionally. It's like, hey, you look like something other than dealers. Good. You know, even if it's just pretend, good. Gohan ice creamed a while ago. They just moved next door. Very possibly. They'd move somewhere is the thing. And that's something that I have had to consider living in this situation, that if I'm running the city and I'm trying to figure out what to do about this problem, I would want to create a drug district. You couldn't really say that publicly, but that's what you'd have to do. Create a drug district. You'd push all of the dealers off into an area where you harassed them the least. You'd still have to poke them like they do nowadays, and maybe that's what they've done with the 11th precinct with where I am. I don't think so. I think they've just let it be scattered all across the city stupidly. But you would have to do that because the drug trade is not going to go away. The demand for these products for boys and girls on the open market, that's not going to go away no matter what you do. You're not going to win this war by prosecution. It's not going to happen by virtue of arresting people. So that would be my tactic, and that's a horrible tactic to have to, like, realize, but that's what it would have to be. It's the only thing that makes sense. You'd have to create a drug district and push all the dealers off into there and be like, okay, now that you're there, we're not going to annoy you too much, and people who are smart will get the hell out of that area, And people who, for some reason, aren't smart or can live with it or just don't have enough money to change the areas and stuff like that, some people are going to, it's not going to be good. But it's going to be not good for less people than it is now. That's the only way you could do it. At least civil asset forfeiture is what my cynical mind tells me, says Major Exelberth. I don't disagree. Jim ice creamed a while ago. This is the lamest looking drug raid I've ever seen, and yes, I know they tend to be unspectacular. That was the end of it. And really there is, I didn't set up a camera today, and I haven't bothered in some time because there's just not much to see. They rush into the house, a whole bunch of people move in, and then they're just in the house, No, it doesn't turn into a gun battle. There's no fighting. It's just the police come in, and I presume everybody knows what's going on, and they're like, oh, is it Tuesday? Ah, Jesus, already? And it just happens, and maybe they take someone away, and maybe they don't. Maybe they find some product, and they take that away, and maybe they don't. Maybe they find some cash, and they take that away, and maybe they don't, and then it's over. In Texas, they would shoot holes through the house first and then go inside, said Rex. That would be another way of doing this. I'll tell you that. Ice cream, could you buy out all the land around you and then force them out, says Why Are There No Names? Well, I could probably buy the house that they're in because they're not there legally. I've looked up that house on in the public records, and it is owned by the City of Detroit Housing Authority, or House Bank. Which is a program that gobbles up, that absorbs homes that have fallen into disrepair and foreclosure and then tries to sell them via a government site for, extremely cheap. Just, pay $2,500, like my house. I didn't get it through that program, but it would be like my house, or the kind of houses that they come up with through that program. And it's owned by that program, which is owned by the City of Detroit. So in a sense, my drug dealers are being housed by the City of Detroit, and we know they know about it. I have considered suing the City of Detroit for, like property value and stuff like that, because you've got a really good case. But the problem with buying up the land or buying out their house or suing the City of Detroit is that, you're there, you're out there now. You're not just somebody who lives on the street who's, keeping quiet, not making a fuss and letting things be as they are. Now you're someone taking a stand and making a move that's pushing them out, and your name's on the record. In this city, I do not feel safe to call the police, and in today's drug raid, I was on my porch twice, and none of the police came to ask me anything. And there's a reason for that, because they're not fucking stupid. I was waiting to see if any of them were fucking stupid. They're not that fucking stupid anyway. Because if they come up and start asking me questions, they know that now my life's in jeopardy, and they also know that they can't protect me from it. If I answer their questions, even if I don't answer their questions and they come up and start asking me questions, there's going to be suspicion. If anybody's around who can see that, they can't protect me. As I have spoken of many, many times before, the average response time in the City of Detroit is 50 minutes, about 50 minutes. From priority 1 calls to priority 5 calls, like nothing, it's about 50 minutes. And when it's a priority 2 call, you could wait 20 or you could wait an hour and a half, as I know from firsthand experience. So no one in the 11th precinct can protect me or protect anyone in this city. So they don't even bother coming up to your house and asking you, because they know they don't want to make it look like you called. They don't want to make it look like you may have given them information. They don't want to make it look like you might be testifying. They know they can't do that. They'd just be getting people killed. Gohan ice creamed some time ago, Jim, the drug raids here in New York City are pretty spectacular, though they don't usually do it till they are taking down the whole ring. That'd be an idea, huh? I'm just reading ice creams now. I'm sorry if you've cheered because I gotta catch up. Ice cream, speaking of police, said Parallel, a little fun fact. Republic of Georgia fired their entire police force back in 2005. Every officer in the region, after the reform, crime rates increased because police were doing their job finally. Oh, I see. Crime rates increased because no one was policing, so there were less crimes to report. I see. We could use that in Detroit a little bit, at least in the 11th precinct, I'm sure of, after my experience, directly. I have nothing to say about the guys who come over and raid that house. I don't know what precinct they're from. I don't know what task force they're from. So it's not about them, but it's about, the other thing with the guy that they didn't take when they could have, and then caught, and then accidentally let go, and then he's on the street, and then the helicopter has to come. Remember that one? Take a 15% cut on drug activity on his land. Another source of income. I could absolutely set up as a launderer for them, I mean, imagine that. I actually have just a couple of days ago, I considered the idea of, how would you do that business smart? Could you accept payment over the internet? Would it be possible to accept credit card payment? I know buyers wouldn't want to go in for it because there's, a paper trail and everything, but it's just an idea I was having kicking around. Live streaming would be a very good way of doing that, right? Because you don't make a product. So the idea that you've got a whole bunch of income coming in doesn't equate to, but he's only shipping 100 units, and he's got thousands of dollars coming in a month? It's a donation-based thing. So you just give him a link to, here, go to this PayPal account and submit us the money that we tell you to submit, and then there'll be a blind drop over there. You could internetize the drug ring business with inbuilt laundering. You wouldn't have to launder it after because it's being laundered in line. And then if you get caught, then all of the transactions lead back to everyone who's ever bought anything, which could be a good thing too in the long run. Hello, Evil Donner Balkan, and thank you for that subscription. I'm just catching up to that in chat, for Christ's sake. Sorry, I have nearly no time to watch your streams, but I won't miss my resubs. Well, thank you, Evil Donner Balkan. 14 months in a row, you got to keep that going. Why not try to profit off of protecting these drug houses? Because then I put myself at risk by going over and saying, hey, you know the things I know, right? You want me to keep quiet? Ronan Poing, you can't put them all together in the same place. They'd start shooting each other, says Bonezister. Oh, that's a problem. Yeah, maybe so multiple drug districts? Keep the different gangs. Maybe that's the thing, is you got to get to a kingpin state. You got to take out the ones that you don't want to exist. Really crack down, come on hard, gunfights, just drive them out of business completely, and then leave one. Leave one and make a red light district. I really think the solution to drugs and the drug problem is you just gotta you gotta legalize it to a certain extent. Not make it okay, not make it you could buy it at a gas station, that kind of shit. But you gotta create systems around it where it's not demonized for the people who are using the products at least. Because that just drives people into dark alleys and into bed with seedy characters and into horrible positions with people that they shouldn't be involved in, people getting killed and people getting shot and just acting more and more like drug users because it's so taboo and it's so not allowed and some areas in the country have gone that road and made safe injection spaces and things like that. And I really think that is the solution, the best solution that we've got yet with managing drugs, because the users are going to turn into more and more disassociated, broken people, the more that they can't continue to live their regular lives, that they don't have an option to, that they're running down dark alleys and robbing people to get the money for it and stuff like that. The zeitgeist of, you're addicted to drugs, you're a horrible person, get the fuck away from us, and we can't hire you, and we won't hire, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to drug test you heavily, and, I don't know where that has room in the economy, because that would be a hard thing to get a small business owner to agree to. If they're on drugs, just let them be on drugs. But regardless of whether there's something to be done about that, you have to acknowledge that it's part of the problem, that you start using drugs, and, people get driven into these lifestyles of being just completely antisocial and off the grid, and their new group of people is prostitutes and drug dealers and fellow drug addicts, and it just becomes that. And if society were more accepting of it, if it brought people in, created safe spaces for them to experience that, and also made it easily accessible and not a thing that costs money or requires, certain insurance provider to do to get help, I feel like you'd see more people sort of like the border, in the Trump era, the Mexican border is a big thing that he got elected on. That, by the way, any walls going up? Anybody see any walls up? Any walls built yet? But, what we've found is that economically speaking, the best policy, if we want to have less illegal foreign migrants working in America off the books and that kind of thing, is to open the borders more, is to have it be looser. Because when people feel like they can get across the border and get home successfully and not risk being arrested and deported and that kind of stuff every time, then they come, they work a season, they go home, they stay with their families, they live their lives, they come back, work a season, and we end up with less illegal immigrants at work in America that are taking jobs and also screwing over, it screws up the economy, you know? I understand the argument for that it's a bad thing, generally speaking. Me personally, I'm one world, you know, society kind of guy. I'm looking for the day where we move toward that Star Trek era where it's like, Earth. Where are you from? I'm from Earth. Does it matter? But I get the economic policy, but what we found is that, you know, objectively speaking, it's a better policy to loosen border restrictions because people come and go, as opposed to getting here and going, Jesus Christ, I can't believe we made it by the skin of our teeth. If we have to do that thing again, we're probably going to get caught, so let's just stay here and send money home. And then they plant themselves and they keep the jobs that they're in, and industries start building around the idea that, hey, here's some, you know, illegal immigrants that I can pay less than everybody else, and I'll build my business around that, and then you get real, you know, American jobs lost to illegal workers. That's where you get it. But if they're coming and going, then there's a flow, and there's also, it doesn't undermine the cost of labor as much. So along those same lines, the drug problem here. I just went off on a tangent. Mage Lord Exelbirth, that's part of the argument for legalizing porn. Oh, right, legalizing it. The more open society is to people using drugs, you'll have more reciprocating, you know? You'll have more people who get in drugs, have a dark spell into their life, get out of drugs and come back. People who are using drugs but manage to, like, keep their lives together and, you know, keep working and keep paying their bills, but they're using drugs and it's not, you know, they're not going down the dark alleys and, you know, meeting seedy characters and stuff like that because it's more out in the open and they can continue to participate in society. You'll just have more of that, and you're going to have people going down dark holes and getting themselves killed, shot, and just, you know, ODing and all that kind of stuff, just like we have now, but you'll have a society that more allows for them to not be on one side of the door or the other. Because once you are on the other side of the door, which can take just one injection or one hit, and your body is like, oh, I need that now. And these things are designed chemically to make you feel like you need it now. You know, once you're on that side of the door, it really does feel like, well, there's no going back, is there? It's a really hard thing to transition back into society, into normal society, into non-drug using prostitution society. And if it weren't, then I'm not saying it's the best world. I'm saying it's the best world that I think we can imagine presently, given what our situation is. Major Douglasworth said, that's part of the argument for legalizing porn. Less harm total. Legalized drugs mean people can have an actual business designated for doing drugs, rather than crack houses and meth dens in random neighborhoods. People then can go to an establishment which can have decent security for both the dealers and patrons, and it'd incentivize responsible drug dealing. Yes, that does sound silly. Yeah, it would. It would incentivize that, and it would incentivize also, like, if you've got people coming to certain places where it's legal to use, and legal to sell even, then you would also be able to control that environment and make it very accessible for people without having to be proselytizing and up in people's faces with, like, here's a treatment program, here, you should check in today. You could have just the environment be open to that. If you had a certain space, and then you also had, like, you know, people there who, if you're interested in trying to get off, to go through detox, to go to the clinic, we're right here, we'll sign you up today. You know? You could control it a little bit more. You could do more good. Some alderman is probably getting kickbacks along with the police, getting to confiscate money from the house every 6 months. Very corrupt, says Crispy Critter. Entirely possible, and that is why no one in the city can really even call the police. And that's a problem. You know, it's like a spiral that once you get into, it just turns into a Nine Inch Nails album. It's a downward spiral, because once you've got a police force that's so ineffective that crime just starts to spread, then you get a citizenry that knows that they can't call the police when they're in trouble, and then starts to suspect the police of being complicit, and then they don't call because, one, they know they won't come, and two, because they wonder, if I do call them, are they going to be, you know, part of the gang or part of the drug trade, and then my name's going to be, and then I got problems. And you just get into this spiral where once the police force is a certain level of ineffectual, it just feeds in on itself. People, we can't call the police. We've got an organization in the city of Detroit that has established itself specifically for the purpose of you being able to call them, and then they call the police. Because the citizens of Detroit are so afraid to call our force of justice that we need an intermediary step. So you're right, in the idea that somebody's probably, you know, getting kickbacks, absolutely. I would not be surprised at all. Like I say, I heard today, when they went into the house, I heard it when they were busting the door down. So I came to the window, and like I say, I try not to watch too hard, because I don't want to look like I'm that interested. I don't want to look like I know a bunch about what's going on over there. I want to just live my life. But I will say this, I did keep, you know, walking by the window and trying to take another view, and I didn't see them pull anybody out of that house. And the thing is, there is never a day or an hour where there's no one in that house. So either they came in the front door and somebody was going out the back door and got away, or they knew that today's the day and no one was there and they cleaned out. I mean, these are at least the things that you think, whether they can be confirmed or not. Paul, on, why not move to Belgium, says Pi. I don't know. I still haven't caught up. I'm never going to, am I? Gohan cheered 5. How is your case against the city going? No one would take it, Gohan. No one would take it. In America, the laws, presently, the Supreme Court recently ruled that in a certain case, they left the country with the sense, they left litigators, lawyers in the country with the sense that a police department is not responsible for anything. They're responsible for not practicing, for not policing in a racially biased way, or a gender biased way, or, a religious biased way. They're responsible for that. But in terms of actually doing their jobs, the Supreme Court decided in a case, as has been described to me, where a woman took out a restraining order against her ex-husband, who had been coming around and who had been violent before with her and who was making threats, and he kept coming around even though the restraining order was there, and she called several times to report him, and the police did not enforce the restraining order. They did nothing, multiple incidents, and then one day he came over and murdered her. And her children sued the city. And the Supreme Court of the United States of America decided that the police do not have a responsibility to do their jobs, and told that grieving family that was trying to get some closure and some justice for their mother, who had been killed on the slack-jawed watch of their local police department, that you have no recourse. Go home. Go home and spread the ashes, and welcome to the new America. So when I reached out to lawyers saying I want to sue the city of Detroit, I want to sue specifically the police department, even though I've got a hell of a case, and if I were a lawyer, they'd already be talking to me about settlements. Nobody is interested in it, because the Supreme Court decided the best thing for this country was to send the message to lawyers that the city isn't responsible for policing itself. So welcome to the fucking Wild West here, according to the Supreme Court justices. Ice cream. Over in Windsor, do they still have state stores for people buying alcohol where there is a limit? Might work for the drug thing, says Crispy Critter. They do, or at least they did 5 years ago. when I was staying over there. I remember making the run to the state store. Very cool little operation. You walk in and you tell them what you want, and somebody goes in the back and they send it out on a roller, and you buy it and you walk out. It's kind of like full service, you know. Haven't been able to get my car gassed up like that in years. I'm gonna go. Boy is very tired. Night, babes. Good night, Why are there no names? Rolling forward. Roll 20 controversy? What now? This is right. Dun, dun. That was the first hour, but we'll be coming back to it in the next hour after we take this live stream break after I read Jim's ice cream. So is this entire stream going to be about this one ordeal? What? Jim, have you just gotten here? We started out with the Roll 20 controversy and rolled into my own experience with GG servers, and now we're talking about the Detroit Police Department, and then we talked about immigration, and now we're talking about general drug policy, and then we're talking about the Supreme Court and the lack of responsibility that the police departments have for doing their jobs in the United States of America. This one ordeal? Apparently they aren't responsible when they finish work, don't even know what the fuck they were doing, kill someone, and then claim they were afraid for their life. I hope that woman is in jail already. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Have you played Graveyard Keeper at all yet? I haven't. I haven't given it a try. Have you? Tell me more when we come back from this, our next live stream break. We're going to take 7 minutes down. When we come back, I've got one last topic to launch into, and I'm sure that we'll sprawl into, 17 other tangents that Jim will call one ordeal. Crispy Critter just subscribed for 15 months in a row. Good stream today, Pawn. Stay safe. Thanks, Crispy Critter. If you're going, I will see you later. Thank you so much for your support. We will be back in 7 minutes to talk about Comcast. And since Rai just came back and you don't necessarily know about the Roll 20 thing, it relates. That's why I meant to talk about it earlier and forgot. Back in 7 minutes. Stay with me, Pawn. Not out. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn, where we're talking about all the fun things that are happening on the internet and on my street with the Detroit Police Department. I didn't mention this part, I kind of skimmed over the most interesting part of it, I suppose, which is that today's raid, drug raid is what we were talking about before. The drug raid, they come around every 6 to 8 months and flip the drug house on my street, and then they go away and nothing changes. They flip the house, and then they very slyly, this almost sounds like competence from the Detroit Police Force. As I say, my experience with the 11th Precinct has been the one that leaves me with the foul taste in my mouth and the odor whenever they draw near. But with this particular drug task force, they very slyly got into their vehicles like nothing was going on and started to drive away, and then it was 2 vehicles at that point. Most of them had left. There was a cop car and the van with the SWAT team, and they very hastily drove in the direction that stopped almost right in front of my house, just a little bit off my house. Why were they stopping in front of my house? Because some people who definitely have to do with the business had shown up, parked behind my car, were sitting in their very expensive white Mustang, I think it is, and they were watching, waiting for the police. Like, they were that brazen, that bold, they're waiting for the cops to go off, like probably checking their watches, going, fuck, come on, you know we're gonna open again as soon as you leave, will you just wrap it up already? They got in their cars, the police did, and they drove, and they whoop, and then just like blocked them in right where they were parked and jumped out, and just a swarm of cops went around that car. To the point where I was, you know, watching, and I was like, should I duck for cover? Because immediately the guns came out, the cops holding their guns almost gangster-like, their pistols out and stuff like that, and the 2 guys at first are just kind of sitting there like, you know, it was almost like they were thinking about doing something. I was like, shit, maybe I should move out of the way. Nobody fired anything, but yeah, the cops then pinned that car down for the next 5 to 10 minutes or something like that, and they pulled the 2 guys out of it and searched them and searched the vehicle, and I don't know that they found anything. I don't know that they found anything. Again, when this stuff happens, I try to not be too around, but I'm around a little bit. But that was at least impressive that they weren't going to let these guys literally sit there, you know, tapping their watches going, come on, you know, we know, it's going to be over, and will you shut the hell up? Thank you. We know, we're all aware here, we're going to move right back into that place as soon as you just get it on. At least they showed some initiative and balls to step in and say, yeah, nah, you're not going to sit there. I don't think they actually got him on anything, but... Pawn, what's going on? Pawn, hold up a sec. I need to get some snacks. Alright, everybody stop the live stream. Pawn, there was a... the car was a Dodge Charger. I've seen the car you're talking about, says RMAJ. Is it? The white Dodge Charger? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, how the hell do you know that? How the hell do you know that? You should record that... Is Stiat? That would be money shot for... Oh, record that instead. That would be a money shot for... Fox. Hold on, that Roll20 stuff for 5 minutes, Pawn. Exactly 5 minutes. So don't talk about Roll20 because I was just about to talk about Roll20. We talked about that when we got started. The reason I was going to bring it back to it, first off, I'm going to remind you one more time, and what the hell, why don't we watch it one more time, that if you presently visit rickroll20.com, I have purchased the domain, and I have published the following video. The domain now links directly to this.
Never gonna hear you out, never gonna change my mind, never gonna apologize or unban you. Even in the face of proof, I'll just reject the truth and claim that you're uncouth for having a backbone and defending yourself against my unwarranted accusations.
So visit me today at rickroll20.com if you'd like to, you know, see the video again, or rather link it to people whom may think that it's funny. It doesn't have to, it's, as I've said before, when I was doing this, I was thinking Roll20, but also just generally the way that businesses conduct themselves on the interwebs these days. And as I speak to that, the reason why I wanted to bring up Comcast yet again to say something that most of you already know is that along this line of customer support, customer service, and customer care, it has been now a month and a half. It's been more than 2 months since I've been having problems with my internet service. If I try to go to xfinity.com, I cannot go to xfinity.com. I believe one that they found for me was americanexpress.com. Yes, that I can't go there either. I can't go to homedepot.com. I've been having this problem for like 2.5 months. These little random websites, some work and some don't. Seems to be no rhyme or reason to it, but Xfinity is my internet service provider. So the idea that I can't go to the website that houses my account and do any, like, change my policy or anything, that's interesting, isn't it? So that's been like 2.5 months going on now since the first signs showed up. I have replaced my router. Well, I've swapped it out for another one that I have, so yeah, it's been replaced. I have done all of the things that you do. I've tried working with, what is it, I something P's, it's HTTP v6 or whatever. I've looked at all that stuff. I've been down all the alleys. I used to be computer repair guy, so I'm not completely in the wilderness. It's been some years. But I have a sense of where these problems tend to come from. I didn't find it. I've talked to Comcast support no less than half a dozen times. I've called them about this issue, and they eventually said, okay, we have, we've done all of the things we can do from our side to try and check your service. We're going to have to send a technician out. Is that okay? And I said, if I don't have to pay for it, it's okay. And they said, well, we can't be sure. And I said, go ahead and send them out because we've already tested everything on my end. This is on your end. And he said, okay. And the guy came out and was unable to do a goddamn thing. My modem's health is good. Like I say, I swapped the router. He checked the signal. He tried, whatever he did. He was on my internet with his devices and trying it through his stuff. Nope. Just can't do it from this IP address. Cannot go to these places. Ice cream, have you turned it off and back on? Says Gervasian. I have. And I very, very, very much enjoy the IT crowd. That was just a fucking brilliant show. I'm so glad that this community actually brought me to it just because, I decided to go look for things that I hadn't seen that were on the other side of the water. And goddamn, that's a brilliant show. But yeah, so at least half a dozen calls, which resulted in a service technician coming out and confirming, yeah, this isn't your hardware, this isn't in the line, this has got to be in the servers on Comcast's end. So I finally called them back like 3 days ago to, talk to them about the fact that, well, your support guy's been out and he confirms that it's not on my end. So where are we now? And a support agent named Michael walked me through testing some things and checking some things that no one else had done before. He said, I'm an advanced IT guy. You happen to call the right person here. I'm on our advanced support team. And he invoked the word poodle. And I'd never heard that before, but apparently there's some kind of internet, I don't know, communication something. The acronym or the name for it is poodle. And he says, yeah, it's got to be poodle then. You got a poodle in the line. I don't know what he was saying, but he invoked the word poodle. I'd never heard it before. And he said, okay, I'm going to do a thing with your modem, and you're going to be good from now on. 30 minutes from now, it'll probably update, and then you're going to be good from now on. I know this problem. Other people are having this problem. Some websites use a certain confirmation thing, and then if we don't, on our end, if we haven't, and then, I don't know. He didn't want to explain it, probably because it's obviously, like, on their side and their fault and shouldn't be happening. But, poodle, I got it. You're fixed. 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes, Michael. But I'll tell you what, the reason I bring that up is because we were talking about customer support, and we were talking about customer care, and we were talking about leaving the customer with a feeling that you've done something, that you've tried, that they have been heard and understood. And Michael addressed my problem, gave me some new things to try, not just have you cleared the cookies on your browser, which everybody fucking asked me, and I'm like, I'm not clearing the cookies on my browser. This is happening in multiple browsers, on multiple computers, on my cell phone, on a tablet my dad had. It's not in the fucking cookies on the fucking browser. I won't do it. I won't do it. He brought some new things. He heard me. He, sounded like he knew what the problem was. He clicked some button. He tapped the keyboard and said, "You're good." And I was like, "Oh, thank God. I've been waiting to talk to you, Michael, all this time." I got off that phone call, actually, immediately called people to be like, hey, Comcast just fixed my shit. It's amazing. All I had to do was bang my head against the wall for a month and a half over 7 to 8 different phone calls and a technician visit. It's awesome. And then, of course, it's still broken. But Michael did his job. He heard me. He tried his best. He left me with a solution that he believed would work, or made some shit up about a poodle. Even in that case, I'm like, good on you, Mike. You left me feeling good for the first time about Comcast since this whole thing started. And that is in reference to, have you returned yet, Rai1010? You said exactly 5 minutes. Can you ping Xfinity from a command prompt? I have definitely tried stuff. I have tried pinging. I've tried IP trace routes and stuff like that. I don't remember what the results were now, but basically they didn't give me any information whatsoever. It's definitely not on my end, not in my equipment. This shit is something that Michael tried to solve by, something's giving my modem the credentials that it didn't have or something, and that didn't take, or he was just making shit up. But it's not on my end. Have you tried getting better cookies like Oreos, says RMAJ? I'm waiting for him to suggest that. I have returned, says Rai1010. So I bring this up because we're talking about a good customer service agent who knew what they were talking about, took me through some solutions, did something, and left me feeling positively, even though the end result is I still have to call them back. But he bought them so many more fucking bullshit phone calls with people who don't know what they're doing just by doing what you're supposed to do as a support agent, doing what you're supposed to do as a customer care representative, which is what this fella, Nolan T, did not do. And we've already read through this entire thing, but as a recap, fella who's been using Roll20, the D&D, the role-playing game system that makes it easier for people to do dungeon master work and support it on tablets and devices and can lay out your grid and stuff like that on screen. He's been using it for 5 years, and the company banned his account on Reddit after he posted one thing where he issued his complaints about the service. Been using it for 5 years, so must be a fan, issues and complaints, and it turns out that they did it because he has a username that's similar to another person's username, and I've been all through this, but at the end of the day, Apostle O is on Reddit posting his incredibly detailed, long-ass story with links to everything so that you can know exactly what went on without anybody being able to spin the information, okay? And his post on the r/D&D site has 45,000 upticks and was trending earlier today. In fact, I haven't refreshed this in a while. Let's reload. 46,500 upticks. And the response from the company has, let's reload this as well, 38,528 from the Nolan T, who was directly named as the representative, as the individual whom Apostle O was communicating with. He's managed to garner almost as many downvotes with his response, which tells you something about how the public feels about what Roll20 is calling customer care and customer service these days. And I feel like one of the reasons I invoke Comcast here is because they have caused this, is how I feel. They're a part of it. Comcast and AT&T are companies that are known. They are on charts as the worst-rated companies in the country, and yet, due to their monopolies, they're also the most used. They have monopolies from shore to shore, and everyone hates them, but you can't do anything because they're the only ones in the market, due to their own doing. They very much set up the market that way, and they conspire and collude and work together in order to make that happen. And in case you think I'm being, conspiratorial here, let's do Verizon, Comcast, AT&T, Netflix, what would you call it? Shakedown? Let's just search that. Level 3 proves that Verizon is absolutely to blame for Netflix. That was in 2014. This graph shows how Netflix speeds changed. So show me the graph. Can I zoom in? Can I? No? Well, I can zoom in this way. So, yeah, whatever. The percent change in Netflix download speeds since January 2013 as rated by Internet Service Provider. Now, at this point in time, January 2014, Comcast was engaged in an attempted shakedown of Netflix to get them to pay them more money than they had to for the bandwidth that they were consuming, because it's Netflix and they're sending out big video files. And at this point, I believe we had a regulated internet. We had the fair internet. This is before the FCC came in and decided, yeah, we're just going to deregulate it, even though 82% of the population says we shouldn't. Because we don't work for them. We're just the federal government. Oh, we do work for them? Fuck it. We work for Verizon. And it's just interesting to see who's working together, isn't it? Because here's Cox, here's Cablevision's internet, here's Google Fiber's internet, and what they're providing to Netflix in particular. And then, why would you looky here? Right around October, apparently some people had a meeting. They had a little bit of a meeting. They got together, went out to Jekyll Island with some shotguns, some briefcases, and some big stogies, some Cubans. And they decided, hey, what if we all strangled Netflix? And then at the bottom of it came in and said, hey, Netflix, you want our customers to be able to actually use your service? Well, maybe you could give us some more money than you do right now. Just interesting to see the objective, measurable truth of the oligarchies that exist in America's communications market right now. Because Comcast just happens to have dropped their bandwidth when Verizon just happens to have dropped their bandwidth. Well, AT&T just happens to have dropped their bandwidth. Well, those are both Verizon and AT&T. Okay, so Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast, all of their services just dipped off a bit. Didn't all of them at once? What a coincidence! And then here's other people providing the same internet service, and their bandwidth just constantly increases because Netflix is getting more and more customers, so they're constantly providing what needs to be provided to Netflix as a paying customer. Not a conspiracy theory, an actual fact. Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon, competitors in the marketplace, are conspiring and colluding as shown by these lines. Readable by a 7-year-old. That's probably, I'm sorry, 4-year-olds. You can certainly glean what's going on here as well. I didn't mean to insult. So what? Shamey's not talking about the Stage 9 controversy. So you're telling me that Stage 9, the 3D recreation of the Picard's Enterprise, the NC something 7, the D, right? The 11-22-H-9er D, that they've been pulled for copyright issues, that they've been issued a cease and desist because your representation of our product is too accurate and we want you to pay us some money. That's what happened. You know, they should just monetize it then. I mean, it's a hard thing to do when you got so many contributors to the thing, but it can be done, especially if there's that many interested parties, and the company just wants their copyright paid for, which is some bullshit. They should just let the fan base do it and have it. But if I'm in their position, I'm not saying that they're the good guys at all. Absolutely, like let the fucking fans do what they're gonna do. It's a love passion. It's a labor of love from a community who you're still making Star Trek shit. Aren't you? I know that it sucks, CBS. I know that it sucks and nobody actually wants to watch it. It's my opinion. I watched the first episode and went, what? And then it cut out 25 minutes in and turned out that they wanted me to go online and watch the rest of it for $6. And I went, oh, fuck you! But you're still trying to get people to watch it, right? So it's a benefit to you to just have it out there existing and to not, like, drag your own name through the mud as being the guys who shut down the fan fan, you know, recreation of Picard's Enterprise. You do have an incentive there, right? You recognize that, you fucking dipshits. But if I'm on the side of Stage 9, you know, get with all the contributors and say, all right, we're all going to split a percentage and we're going to monetize this thing so that we have the revenue in order to license it legally from CBS, and fuck it. We'll turn it into a business opportunity since they put the pressure on us. I mean, it's one way to go. They've just said, no, fuck off, we're not talking to you, and CBS has nothing to lose from Stage 9's continued existence. Yeah. They have something to lose from its not existence, is the point, right, Jim? That, you know, you've just sent a message to a community that you've already sort of pissed off. You know, there's a lot of us who watched your little Discovery thing there and went, okay, so when does the Star Trek start? What is this? What are we doing here? Huh? Was it, oh, you're going to have like a 6-minute long scene where we're watching people in like giant rubber costumes of some, you know, mutated form of Klingons try desperately to present something that you could call acting with so much rubber and plastic on their bodies, and you're going to stay with them for 6 goddamn minutes while they speak Klingon and I read at the bottom of the screen in an unattractive font nonetheless? That's going to be how you're going to start it off, and then halfway through the first episode, you're going to pitch us hard to go pay to watch the rest of the episode? You kidding me? The first half of that episode wasn't interesting enough for me to give you money in the first place. That's before I even consider the moral imperative to say, no, fuck you, because I don't want entertainment to work like this. I got into Chase Holfelder's shit on his comment section in YouTube for doing that. And if you don't know who Chase Holfelder is, he does, what he's become popular for, and so what he's doing a lot of is minor key renditions of songs that you've heard before. So he'll take something that's, you know, bright and upbeat and poppy and happy, and the one that he recently did was Firework, you know. Baby, you're a firework! And he turned it into a minor chord version. So, you know, I don't know what it sounds like because I never got to listen to it because of how he released it, but it was like, you know, it was going to be something like, baby, you're a fire. I don't know where it would, that was still in a major key. It's really hard to do that. I respect what he does. He's a very, very good musician. He's a very good producer. It's the mixing and the mastering. It's all high quality. As far as I know, he's doing all of it himself, except for occasionally calling in a drummer or something like that. Mad props, mad respect. There's a reason I subscribed to him, and I didn't unsubscribe or anything, but I had to call him out when on this latest video, his Firework thing, he released a video that was 45 seconds of the song leading up to the bass drop, leading up to the moment where he's going to hit the baby, you're a firework. And we're all waiting for it, and then it cuts out and says, hey guys, sorry to do that to you, but have you heard of my Patreon page? And a quick visit over to his Patreon page showed me that he had hundreds of supporters already. Was it 400? Or was it 200? 222 or something on the day? I can't remember what the exact number is, and I really don't want to go over there because I don't want to, like... I'm already getting into his shit. I don't know, it feels like bad if I did that. But, you know, he's got hundreds of supporters already. And you guys... with the numbers that I've got on Patreon, somehow you guys actually pay me a living wage. Like, this is my only job. And that's amazing. And I know that this is a very unique group of people and that you have been incredibly generous with me in ways that a general, you know, consuming populace isn't necessarily. But I have no question in my mind that Chase Holfelder is drawing, you know, $2,000-3,000 a month from Patreon and YouTube revenues if he's able to monetize any of that, because they are covers. But in any case, Patreon alone, he's got to be cranking over $2,000 a month at least. Now, if you live out in California, that's barely a living wage. I understand, but I just don't see that that's the problem of your viewer. You know, there's a lot of other places in the country you could live, and in addition to that, that's just so shitty. At the end of every one of his videos, he lets you know about Patreon and, you know, please support me and that kind of thing. In my economic position where I am constantly on the edge of not having enough money, you know, I have enough money, just enough money to pay my bills and I manage my finances and I'm good. But, you know, I make 4 digits a year. not 5, 4. And this is all I do, and I do it for you, and I do it gladly and thankfully for what you give me already. And I will continue doing it gladly and thankfully for what you do give me already. And in my position, I do not feel like I would be comfortable with myself to do that kind of a thing, to give you a video that just stops in the middle and then pitches Patreon thing and then says we'll be back in a couple of days with the rest of the video. To not give you the completed product and do that little tease, it just felt dirty in a way that even in my dire straits, and they do get dire at times, I couldn't do that. And I'm not saying that I can't get to that point. If certain donors decide to or can no longer support me for whatever reason, I might get to the point where I'm like, all right, pull out all the stops. It's an emergency. I might do something like that, but I would have to be on the verge of economic collapse in order to get there. Chase Holfelder is not, and I just can't. That's why CBS is so pissy about Star Trek fans as well. What? CBS demands they make an active effort to remove all links to download the latest version. Really? Jesus, God. Pawn, you weren't missing that much with the other half, says RMAJ about the Star Trek episode. I didn't think I would be. You know, it was impressive, the cinematography on that first episode. It definitely looked like a J.J. Abrams, you know, lens flare, incredible, like, we're going to do the camera, we're going to draw back over the top of the table, and then and it was, like, visually stunning, and also there was no interesting story in that first 25 minutes. I had no connection to those characters. They hadn't sold me on anything, and then they're literally stopping in the middle of the episode to try and sell me it. Come pay for it now, and you can see the rest of the first half that wasn't that good. So you see how, you know, that kind of happens with it. Chase Holfelder, CBS's Star Trek Discovery, like, that's, no, you don't need that, CBS. You don't need to do that. You don't need that hard push. Who sued CBS when they tried to stop him? Someone overstepped their boundary, tried to profit off Star Trek in a major way, then sued CBS. What? You talking about Dave Letterman? Did he do it? I remember Dave had some, was it CBS or was it NBC? I like Discovery, says Red Phoenix, but then again, I didn't pay a cent to watch it. Yar, if you know what I mean. You know? That's another thing. You know, there's people in Europe, they just had it on Netflix. It was one thing, and then if you just, you know, VPN or if you just, you know, torrent, you can get it. You can watch it. But, yeah, that was just like... The story wasn't interesting on its own face for the first 30 minutes that they gave me. And then that's before I even consider the moral, like, qualms about that. And, you know, we're going to have a conversation, a much longer and more in-depth conversation, and with more input than just mine on this in a day in the future. Wink, wink. But when it comes to the idea of pirating, when I was young, I pirated everything that I wanted because I had no sense of value. I had no sense of the work that people did in order to, you know, in order to produce the goods that I wanted. Also because I wanted it. I wanted access to it. And because I pirated, I had access to a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise. My parents weren't going to buy me $400 pieces of software in order to learn what I know now about graphic design and programming and 3D modeling and all of the interests that I took. Just wouldn't have been there. Just paths in my life would have been cut off due to economic insolvency, due to not living in a country where you have access to those things through education. It just wouldn't have been there without piracy. So there's that. But when I got older, I put away piracy and I said, you know, people work hard for this. People do, you know, the programming and the effort and teams that go into and making this stuff and then marketing it, and it's hard work, and it's, you know, it's a labor of love, hopefully. A lot of times it isn't. But regardless, they deserve to be paid for their work. I'm going to try not to pirate things. What that ended up for me being a poor person was that I used a lot of open source software now. I use GIMP instead of Photoshop. So, but for like, I would say a decade, I have been not anti-pirate, but I personally wasn't pirating anything. You know, if I can't afford it, I guess that means I just don't get to have it. And now, I have flip-flopped again. I am back to my child's perspective on this thing. My child self's perspective was just, I want it, give it to me. But now, I think there's a very good time for piracy. I think there's a lot of good times for piracy. And given the shape of the markets right now, given how specifically game manufacturers, game designers, game publishers choose to run this business, how they are manipulating media sources and manipulating people who write reviews and who have YouTube followings and things like that in order to get out the message that they want out there, restricting gameplay to only play these levels because the rest of it's not done and stuff like that. The business itself is so shady and so dark and so dirty. And even we could go into GTA 5 on this thing, you know, that they made a very enjoyable single-player game, and then they basically economically raped everyone with their online gameplay, where it was basically designed to not be fun unless you paid them money. The way they're running the businesses these days, I think more power to you. More power to you. You know, it's down to every individual's like sense of morality, but there are a number of things that I would be comfortable pirating, and I have asked in recent live streams, if you know where I can get GTA 5 through a torrent, send me a link on discord.ronanpawn.com, because I'd love to play that game, but I don't think I want to pay Rockstar to play that game. I think they've gotten enough. I think they've done enough. I fully condone pirating, says Major Lord Exelberth, because it sends a message that a boycott doesn't. The product is wanted, but the practices they're engaging in aren't worth paying for. That's exactly where I'm coming from. And in addition to that, in addition to where games stand, and here's the thing, I'm not going to pirate a game from a small indie studio that's, you know, trying to get something off the ground. They Kickstarter it as early access, that kind of thing. I'm not going there. But big company whose business practices I don't agree with, who has been shady, who is running these, you know, early access or day one scams and, you know, day one DLC stuff and, you know, pre-order fucking bullshit where you're buying a game that you don't get to see yet and you're paying extra money for it and here's a little trinket that comes. Like, I just don't like any of that. So with them, I will. But here's an interesting one, okay? Yeah, shut up. You may note, just up there, I have Adobe Premiere Pro, Creative Cloud, CC 2015. Why do you have the 2015 version of Premiere Pro? Pawn, can we open it? Let's open it. Let's see what happens. I've already opened it today, so... Oh, no, there it is. Sorry, we can't connect to the Adobe server right now. You have 10 days remaining to try it for free before you buy it. There's a reason that Adobe's servers can't connect right now. I have rerouted them in my... what do you call that? What's the file? The dot... something. I've rerouted the IP addresses that they use to communicate with the servers so that they can't communicate with the servers. Ice cream. Full disclosure, I pirate games to see if they are worth the buy. There aren't enough demos like back in the day, says Gohan. You know, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying, like, it's up to everybody. That doesn't sound like a bad practice, and I'm not going to jump up and down on you morally. Pawn, I'm in somewhat dire need of the whole Adobe package, preferably 2015. How'd you get it working? Well, I haven't quite yet, because I haven't had to. I torrented Premiere Pro, CC 2015. I torrented Premiere Pro, or Media Encoder, CC 2015. The reason that I did is I've been paying Adobe $29.99, I believe, or $29.95 a month for the past 2-3 years that I've been using it as my primary editing bay. I've been paying for it all that time, and over the course of the past 3 years, it has gotten worse and worse and worse with each release. Each release is less stable. Each release introduces a new user interface that breaks my workflow in a new way, you know, and then I learn that, and they release another one, and it's, oh, what did you do to the graphics system now? I can't even click on the thing to drag and draw the thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Every update that they have released since 2015 has been a step in the wrong direction, has made it harder for me to do my job, has made the software take longer. It should be getting better over time, right? This is the laggiest software. If you load up 2018 and you're working with the type of files that I work with, good luck. Good fucking luck getting that thing to respond to you in a reasonable amount of time. 2015 was the best version of this software that they've ever made, and ever since then, it has been getting worse and worse and worse, and I've been paying them $30 a month for 3 years for them to make a worse and worse and worse product. So, at a certain point, I have, my morality in the economy, my economic morality here, my incentive is to stop paying them. Because as long as I'm paying them, they have no incentive to stop making the product shittier, do they? If I'm complaining to them and still using the product and paying for it every month, well, as long as he's willing to keep paying us while he complains, who gives a fuck? I have pirated this. I've downloaded it via torrent. I haven't finished the pirate stages where you have to, swap out some files and stuff like that. But I will when the 10 days are up. I will, and I will happily use this bit of software pirated for 2 reasons. I've been paying them for so long, and they keep screwing up my work and my business by putting out an inferior product and updating in a way that makes it harder to do. And the other reason is that Adobe does not hold a valid copyright on Adobe Premiere Pro CC 2015. So I am not pirating this thing that I'm pirating. Now, this is just my interpretation. You'd have to get a lawyer and judges and copyright people together. You'd have to get a judge's ruling on this to find out one way or another. But if we'd like to go back to the interwebs for a moment, and if we were to search, say, Adobe, Dolby, Codec, 2015, copyright infringement, maybe. Let's see. Dolby Labs sues Adobe for copyright infringement. For 15 years, Dolby supplied encoding and decoding technologies for use in Adobe products, including Audition, After Effects, Lightroom, and Premiere Pro. The licensing agreement between the companies allowed Adobe to self-report usage on the condition that Dolby could carry out an audit. However, after the software company failed to comply in recent years, Dolby has rolled out the lawyers. What happened here in this story, and I will scroll it in case you somehow are able to read while you listen. What happened here was Adobe switched over from a system where people just bought their product for a set price, and now you own the license. You own the license to that, you own the software, you get to have updates and all that sort of thing because you paid the full dollar amount for it. They switched over to a system where they license everything by the month. Where what I was doing, $30 a month in order to have access to, whichever pieces of the software suite that you wish. And when they did that, they conveniently decided to not necessarily report all of the subscriptions that they were getting for licenses back to Dolby, whom they were paying in order to license Dolby's codecs, in order to decode video from various sources that come in via different cameras. Dolby caught up to them. They have a right, according to their contract, as it said in that opening paragraph, to do a full audit, which means Adobe has to, within 24 hours, if I remember this article correctly, within 24 hours, Adobe has to lay open their books and say it's yours to look at. And when Dolby caught up to them and said, these numbers don't seem to mesh, we need to look at your books, Adobe said, let me call you back. And they didn't call back. And Dolby had to threaten and pursue and punch, and eventually Adobe gave them some cleaned-up version of their books to sell to Dolby as though we haven't been screwing you over as badly as we have been. And even in the cleaned-up version of their books, Dolby found discrepancies enough to go, even in the lie you're trying to tell us, the lie acknowledges that you have been ripping us off. Adobe, as a company, has no valid copyright for its 2015 line of products because they were using Dolby's license in breach of their copyright with Dolby, which was copyright infringement. So, if you want Adobe Premiere Pro 2015, if you want Adobe Media Encoder 2015, if you want Adobe Lightroom 2015, if you want Adobe After Effects, I would have to assume also use the Dolby Codecs 2015. If you want any of these products that used Dolby's codecs in them, they're free. I mean, don't ask Adobe that. They'll tell you, no, we have ceased distributing that product, but that's just because we moved on. That's not why they ceased distributing that product. They did it so Dolby wouldn't sue the shit out of them. And you cannot get 2015 from Adobe anymore. You can get 2016, you can get 2017, you can get 2018. But in 2016, when Dolby started coming around asking questions, they immediately ripped Dolby's codecs out of their software and rewrote it so that Windows handles the decoding, which, by the way, is probably why every subsequent version sucks ass. Because now it's required, it's relying on the operating system to be a conduit through which the decoding of the audio happens, and it slows things down and it doesn't behave as appropriately, and it's just not built in anymore. My contention is that Adobe does not own a valid license to Premiere Pro 2015 or to any of the lines that included the Dolby license because they violated someone else's copyright in order to do so. So, if you can come up with a version of that software via torrent that has been cracked and patched and works on your computer, you're not pirating software. That is abandonware, my friends. That is something that is out on the internet that somebody made that they didn't have the right to make, that's floating around. And if anyone has the right to come after you for using that software, it's Dolby, because they were never remunerated for it, and they have a claim. But their claim is with Adobe, and Adobe can't make any claims of you when they infringed on someone else's copyright in order to release the software. Imagine them coming to somebody and saying, "We want the money, you're pirating our software, you're infringing on our copyright. Have you read this article, Adobe?" Do you recall when you scammed Dolby out of their money? Do you? Pawn Premiere 2015 sucks ass as well. It's the best one I've ever used. It has its quirks, it has its problems, but once I have it configured the way that I need it to be configured, I can just zip, 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 zip. It doesn't crash on me the way that 2016 and 2017 and 2018 do. Like, when I was using... when you're using Adobe software in general, you get really, quick with Control-S. I got to the point where, because all of those subsequent versions of the program were so unstable, I would, make a cut, and I'd come into Adobe, and it was C, click, click, boom, drag it, cut it, paste it, Control-S. Then do the next thing, Control-S. Then do the next thing, Control-S. Save, 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 save. Because it would just crash. It would just crash on you. For no reason. All of them did. 2015, it'll crash on you. It hasn't done that in a while for me. I guess I've got it configured the way that works for the kind of media that I'm pushing through it. And also, this version actually, deals with MP4s okay. It's not ideal, but it does deal with them okay. When Brandon gives me footage that's in the MOV format, fucking Premiere loves it, just sucks it down, I could, be editing in full quality mode, it'd be fine. Premiere Pro is extremely unreliable, says Jim. It has been very reliable for my workflow in the 2015 version. All the other versions get less and less reliable. I still save my work in 2015, because, yeah, it'll bug out and crash on you. I don't know of any Adobe software that doesn't. They're not a very good company. They're not a very good company for writing software. They're a good company for positioning themselves in the market. Their audio suite, Adobe Audition, I believe it's called, is Cool Edit Pro 2000, which is the best digital audio workstation that I've ever used in my life. They just bought it and then called it Adobe Audio, or Adobe Audition. And that being the best version I've ever used before, and I went, oh, cool, Adobe, they bought it, and they're updating it, and they're making it 64-bit, and they're, oh, excellent, my favorite thing. I downloaded their version, fucking crashed all the time. Was less usable than the 32-bit version of Cool Edit Pro, which also crashed all the time. It crashed more after Adobe laid their hands on it. They are horrible when it comes to coding things. They know what to buy. They bought Macromedia Flash at the height of its popularity. And then they ran it into the ground as a company, and now it doesn't exist anymore. Well, now it's no longer officially supported. Flash is now being they're not using it anymore. Yeah, Adobe is, what I'm saying, the whole point of this is there are times and places to pirate, and in this modern age, I am making choices that are not like, oh, you should never pirate. I'm making choices that make sense in the marketplace as well as for myself. Because when you learn a program like Premiere or Photoshop or Audition or anything, when you're in a certain software space and you know how it works, the premise of switching to another workstation is daunting as hell. I'm going to go over to Sony Vegas or something from Premiere. I know how all this works. I know where all the buttons are. I got a workflow that today I cranked out that friggin' video that I've played for you twice. An idea that I had at noon. It was up on YouTube with a thumbnail and described, and I had bought a website and pointed the domain at it. That all took an hour and a half because I'm so familiar with Adobe Premiere. So they kind of got you by the balls. And if you can find something like this, a loophole, where you can say, you know, you guys have been ripping me off and making worse and worse software, and I need to keep using your software. But I don't need to keep paying you for it. Oh, jump on that shit. When it comes to Windows 10, Windows 10 costs $100 and some. Windows 10 being a program where they still don't have, like, the movie player or the picture viewer working right. The shit on my phone works better. You can't, it's a picture viewer. Sometimes I open up a picture in a certain directory. It's got, you know, a bunch of pictures, 60 different pictures, and I'll click on that picture, and then I'll hit right to go to the next one. It'll go to the next one. I'll hit right again. It won't go any further. I'll go, oh, okay, maybe I need to be going left. Left, left. It won't go any further either. And then I'll close it down. I'll reopen it, and then it'll work. I'll close it down, reopen it. It'll reorder the pictures in a different way. It's a fucking picture viewer. You can't get that right, Microsoft? Been doing this for 50 fucking years. Is that right? With Microsoft Windows, if you're going to pay for it, you know, whenever I buy a license, I buy it from like penguin.com or Kingwin. That's what it is, Kingwin, where people are selling, you know, licenses and OEM versions for $30 some instead of the $110 that Microsoft wants for the consumer grade retail package. Because you know what? That's about what you deserve for this operating system in its current state. You know, it's definitely worth money. $30 some is about all I'm willing to pay. And I know you're not getting any of those $30, but I'm kind of fine with that. Because, good God, the state of your software after all of these years. So, yeah, I don't feel bad about stealing from the rich and the ludicrous and the people who don't seem to care how shittily they're doing their jobs. People who have built their products on marketing as opposed to quality, as opposed to support. Those entities, they can suck the big fatty. I got a legit key so far, Windows 10, for €8. That's 100%, or is that £8? Sorry, 100% legit. Honest. Yeah, sure you did, Turbo Nutter. Pro as well. Oh, yeah, me too. Me too, it's completely legitimate. And, you know, I also am not a big fan of Microsoft's, they've just been so stabby about their COAs, about their licenses in the public, because back when I was building computers, you know, they'd put a license for, like, Windows XP on the bottom of a laptop, and it was stuck to the laptop. You know, they tried to attach it to the motherboard, but you could get around it. But I would pull licenses off of, like, a case, you know? You buy a computer for somebody, from someone, used. It's got all of those pieces of equipment in there, and it's got the COA, the Certificate of Authenticity, that's got the code for installing Windows on it, on there too. That's part of the money that you pay to them when you're buying a used thing. Is, oh good, it's got a Windows license. I may be replacing all the hardware or some of the hardware, but that's a Windows license I just paid for secondhand, used, but Microsoft, you already sold it once. So we should be good here, you know? The idea that you want to be able to sell people something that they can never transfer again, it's out of your hands once you sell it to me. There's no other industry in which, you know, I'm going to sell you this remote control, but if you ever try and sell it again, I want a cut. That doesn't happen in the real world. now, you can still get away with it, and still, like, get your product, licensed and recognized through Microsoft's own system and validated by them if you do it the right way. But they've cracked down way harder on their, retail COAs, trying to bind them to, you know, the motherboard and the computer that they're in. And it doesn't seem right. It really doesn't seem right. Somebody already paid you for this product. They're not going to be using it anymore. Now I'm going to be using it. If they want one, then they'll go out and get it. No two people can use the same license at the same time, but you want the license to die as soon as the first person who bought it no, fuck you. Fuck you. That's not like protecting your copyright or just trying to make a decent, you know, living, trying to make $1. It's making sure that the Gateses have their trillions to give to charity. I really don't associate Bill or his wife with Microsoft anymore. They're not really in it, as far as I'm concerned. I liked Windows 7. It was the best. Yeah, most people who are smart are still using Windows 7. I've been using Windows 10. I don't know why. XP keys were just lying about back then, says Turbo Nutter. They were. Man, I would go dumpster diving for old computers, you know? Just go dumpster diving for somebody throwing out a computer. The computer could be shit, just nothing in it that's worth keeping. But man, that little sticker on the back, you know? Hey, it's a license that's not in use anymore. I'm gonna grab it. There's nothing wrong with that. You know? The idea that there's some kind of moral, oh, you're doing something bad, you're not paying the company. They sold this license already. It's no longer in use. Now I'm gonna use it. Maybe I bought it from somebody, along with the computer that I bought from them. I need to be able to take that license and move it over here. No, we got a special license package for that. Fuck you. It's not your place. You know, you don't get to make your own laws and make up your own policies about how things are going to work just because you're selling software instead of goods. Fuck them. I've never pirated Windows, I don't think. I mean, if I have pirated Windows, it was for a project or something, and it was just to, like, have it so that I could try something, but it wasn't, you know, something that I ran on. I've never pirated Windows. I've never done like the thing where you get Windows and then you run some programs in the background and it hacks and it keeps the servers happy and whatever. I've never done anything like that. But when it comes to buying a license, don't pay retail to these bastards if you can avoid it. There are enough people that are going to pay retail to them, okay? It's not like, I don't think that what I'm saying is going to, everybody's going to hear it and then nobody's going to pay for Windows ever again. And then, oh, well, we'll never have Microsoft Windows. Which, by the way, would be great, because then somebody would come into the marketplace with a product that, you know, is forward-thinking and not just all about the marketing. But there's enough people who are going to pay retail for it. There's enough people who are just going to buy computers that have it installed, and then they'll sell it OEM to the manufacturers. We're not going to put Microsoft out of business, and if we do, well, that's on you, Microsoft, for having a too high price for a too low-value product, right? You want the free, fair, open market? You don't want to pay your taxes, move your fucking, you know, profits offshore and shit and hide them all because you love the free market so much? Well, part of the free market is if I can steal your product because it's doesn't make sense to pay you for it. That's on you, isn't it? Huh? You know, most people, the average, the majority anyway, we don't want to steal things. We don't want to feel bad about, oh, I might have stole something, you know. We don't want to, but you put it on such a high shelf that we can't get to it. I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence, or bad programmers who don't care and just market their shit without wearing underwear. I don't know where I was going with that, but I wanted to rhyme. That's why when I upgrade, I'm going to buy my phone outright and put a SIM in it, says RMAJ. Okay, yeah, do that. Oh, you're talking about Apple and iPhone. You don't own your iPhone. That's a bunch of bullshit. I really, really cannot. Yes, I want to quit. I can't fathom that there can be laws that would support the way that Apple licenses its products. Like, I really do wonder if there are any laws to stand up to the idea of when you buy something, you're not buying it. I mean, I know there's a concept of, like, leasing things and stuff, but their licenses are just so draconian and ridiculous. I wonder if there's any law that actually supports that, or if they're just relying on the overwhelming might of, you know, their legal departments to scare people or something. Because it just seems against everything, every premise of a fair and open economy, of the Magna Carta in terms of, you know, how law gets written. You don't write laws just for, you know, single entities, for corporate entities. You're not supposed to anyway, but if they got enough money, you do. I just, like, because here's where that comes back to. Microsoft and Sony, and probably Apple as well, but Microsoft definitely, used to put little stickers, and they probably still do. Little stickers on, maybe Nintendo was one of these too. Little stickers on their Xboxes and things, saying, you know, if this seal is broken, then your warranty is void. This item has to be serviced by an authorized Microsoft asshole, basically was what it said on it. And that was a lie. That was an outright lie. Absolute 100% fiction. Since the 1970s, there has been a law on the books that says you can't do that. You're not allowed to demand that people get service on the product that you sell them at your own store or by your own authorized representatives because it's called antitrust. It's called no competition in the marketplace because no one else can go into business without you being in the... See, we see what you're trying to do there. It's called forming a monopoly. We don't allow it. It's happened anyway. And Microsoft totally shipped the Xbox 360 with those little stickers on it and stuff like that. They do it anyway. And we've got the monopolies and everything. But there is a law. There are laws on the books that say you can't do that, you assholes. And somehow... there's apparently no law in the book that says you can't try and tell people that, even though you're wrong. Apparently you can put those stickers on there, or else Microsoft would have to be paying, you know, millions of dollars in fines for how many Xbox 360s they put out with these little warnings on there that said, do not tamper. The law protects your ability to try and repair your device. If you have expertise and knowledge, even if you don't, you can try and repair your device. And then if it's under warranty, and you end up sending it back to them, the company, under the law in America, has to prove that your attempt at repair did damage, did additional damage to what was already there, and then they can void your warranty. But if your attempt at repair simply fails, and you send it to them instead, they have a legal obligation to uphold your warranty and fix it, or replace it. You can have anybody service any device. You don't have to take your Apple thing to an Apple store. You don't have to take your Microsoft thing to a Microsoft shop. But they sell that idea, and they push it really hard, and so I wonder if their other policies don't also exist under those auspices of, we're lying to you, but you'll never know any better. Ice cream. So, Paul, when are you going to play us some Vigi games again? I suggest Kerbal Space Program. It's a really cute little game. I haven't heard of it. I try not and play things that I've never heard of before. Stage what? Stage 11? Major Red Exile with Cheering 5. They just pay out millions of dollars in bribes instead. Sorry, campaign contributions. True enough. They allow them anyway because the politicians get campaign financing from those companies, said Jermation. Yeah. Yeah, so I just wonder. Chinese phone arrives tomorrow. Here's hoping it goes okay, says TurboNutter666. You know, I was just watching Ashen's review of the iPhone 5G. Old one, I'd seen it before, but I just wanted something to sort of turn on and kind of roll over, go to bed to. And I was watching Ashen's review of the iPhone 5G, which didn't exist at the time that he reviewed it because it was a Chinese knockoff that had gotten ahead of itself. And they had just released the iPhone 4S. And the Chinese, you know, fakers were already shipping a 5G. But I'll tell you what was interesting about that phone. It had an aerial antenna on it, an old school, tick, 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 like radio and television, you know, analog television antenna on it that you pulled out from the corner. And what occurred to me there was, that's a feature you don't get on modern phones, on modern devices. And why not? This cheaper Chinese variant, this knockoff of a phone that doesn't even exist yet, has an aerial in it and can pick up like local television broadcast signals over analog. That's a cool idea. Can pick up the FM radio and you got a little aerial that you can pull out of the corner. That's a feature. That would be awesome. I mean, I know it's low tech, you get all the same stuff. I'll get it over YouTube, or, it's your Hulu and your Sling and that kind of stuff, and Comcast's Go Live shit. But, if a phone that somebody made as cheap as they could in order to just, rip people off for money by selling it as an iPhone 5G has a fucking aerial antenna in it where you can pick up FM radio better because it extends, and you can pick up local analog television signals. Can we not put a digital one in there? Could I not be able to watch free television could I not watch, PBS and the local stations that are broadcast around Detroit on my phone for free without paying anybody an internet service fee if manufacturers put a little aerial antenna that popped out? That's a really cool idea. Why don't we have those? Well, it seems chintzy and cheap. I don't care. I'd buy one. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be neat. Everyone who plays it now is basically flipping the bird to CBS what? Oh, the stage 12, right. I remember the bit where the antenna flops out. Yeah, and he just starts laughing and he actually does a hard cut to try because he just went off laughing. He should have let himself laugh for a little bit longer. Sometimes his edits are weak. My God, I love the 4S, says RMAJ. No, not the 4S, it's the 5G you want from China. That didn't exist before. Tier 5, what? Free? You low-life commie moocher. Yeah, the television that just goes out over the airwaves where they still somehow manage to pay their bills through advertisers without demanding and needing, because apparently their businesses are so shittily run, without needing desperately for, to find subscription service revenues. That stuff. That. If I could get that on my phone. Without needing to be connected to somebody's Wi-Fi, huh? Without needing mobile data. Look, I can watch television on my phone, anywhere. Just turn it on. It'd be fucking neat, wouldn't it? I don't know if the power draw would just kill a battery, probably, or something like that. Maybe that's why they don't put it in there, but it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea. I might have to watch this. May have seen it, though, says Turbo Nutter. Yeah, look it up. It's on Ashen's channel. So Ashen's iPhone 5G, pretty sure it was 5G, review. Fake. Because it hadn't come out yet. And on that note, people, I've come to the end of all the things that I can think of to talk about that's been happening lately, except to say, no, that's the wrong button. Except to say that this Friday's live stream, if it happens at all, don't count on me for it, but if it happens at all, it will be live from Maumee, Ohio, where I will be attending the Maumee Film Festival. In fact, that'd be a good thing to close on if I can look up the site. Brandon Fry and I, Maumee Film Festival, submitted, if you don't already know, and most of you already do, we submitted a short film to the Maumee Film Festival 2018. And it has been chosen. It has been selected and will be running during the film festival. So we're going to show up there on Thursday for the meet and greet for the creators and for, the directors, producers, and that kind of thing. There's a little meet and greet before the thing kicks off. And then on Friday, they'll be showing the films that were selected. And then, at some point, somebody will let us know if we won anything. But regardless of that, we wanted to go to this one because it's not that far away. It's maybe an hour and a half drive south, the most. I haven't looked at it, but that's what I've been told. If you'd like to come and visit me there, $6 single admission ticket on Friday, September 28th, or 10 days for both the Friday and the Saturday. We'll only be able to be there on Friday. We're going home on Friday, coming out on Thursday, and then we will be at the festival on Friday. And you can see our short film on the big screen. And if you'd like to look at it before, then you can just search it on the YouTubes. Bleak is the name of the film. Bleak by Brandon Fry. If you type in Bleak and F-R-I-E, or F-R-Y-E, Fry, like Futurama, that'll probably get it. Bleak Fry. But yeah, we'll be here. So the Friday live stream will either not happen or it will be from a location where I can acquire some mobile Wi-Fi and stream from my cell phone for a couple of minutes to say hi and tell you what's going on out there. The exciting thing about this film festival is that according to the documents we've been presented with, and I'm wondering if there's a list somewhere on the site here. I'm just looking in the background. If I find it, I will share it with you. With the list that we've been presented, the exciting thing is that we are scheduled to be shown last for our category. And that is not nothing, you know? I'm not going to say it's an indicator of the idea that we're going to win or anything like that, but it's definitely not nothing, because when you are deciding who's going to run at what slot in a film festival, you know, the biggest choices you're going to make is which ones do we run first and which ones do we run last. The ones in the middle, you know, you're going to have to create like a sort of a feeling. You're going to want to go for like a flow, but the first and the last are kind of important. Who's going to open up this thing and who's going to close this thing, and you tend to want to close on a high note. So somebody thinks ours is good enough to be last, at least, if it doesn't win anything. Meanwhile, the other semi-exciting thing is that this fella, Chris DeFaria, I don't know, the president of DreamWorks Feature Animation Group, will serve as a judge for 2018 Maumee Film Festival. So a man from DreamWorks will be watching our thing, our show. And then these are various presenters, I guess. I haven't actually looked at what's going on there. All I know is that our film is in the thing and we'll be there. When we get there, we'll figure it out. In the meantime, I will definitely see you back here this Sunday at 4 p.m. for more live stream, and the next live stream might even, no promises, but it could just involve playing a game.
For I am the Ronin Ball!
RMAJ, he played the game of life, real life, the deadliest game. 100 participants die. 100% of participants die. Indeed they do. Yeah, we'll be back here Sunday at 4 p.m. with, something. I was gonna do 7 billion humans today before I found out about the whole controversy over at the, Roll20.net, the r/Roll20 thing. So maybe it'll be 7 billion humans. If you're interested in that, join me Sunday. And if you're not, join me Sunday anyway. Just open the browser. It helps me with the view counts. I look like somebody. Somebody who looks better. I am the Ronin Ball. I'll see you next time. Ball out.